Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 23rd, 2024 Amityville Union Free School District Board of Education meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order, the open session at 5:35 p.m. Currently present at the meeting is myself, Lisa Johnson, Vice President, Carol Seahor, First Vice President, trustees, Leslie Kretz, as well as Caroline Fanning. The other trustees, Second Vice President Megan Messing will be coming, as well as trustee Wendy Canestro and Chris Nairn. Also present currently is our superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot, our assistant superintendent for finance and operation, Mr. Watsy, our assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, Mary Stevens, and our assistant superintendent for human resources, Dr. Bridget Wade, as well as financial consultant, Carl Frazier. At this point in time, can I have a motion to enter in at 5:36 to enter into executive session for the purpose of advice from legal counsel and particular person's employment history? So moved. Second. Trustee Hawkins first, Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And John Sheenan will be joining us shortly. Please note where the emergency exits are located at. Take a moment to silence your cell phone and please join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this point in time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Good evening to our Board of Education, faculty, staff, and our school community and special guest. Last week was designated as National School Board Appreciation Week, taking place from October 14th to October 18th. This is a time to recognize the service, leadership, and dedication of our school board members. These individuals volunteer their time and expertise to guide our district, helping shape the future of our student scholars and our schools. We deeply appreciate all the time and effort they put in, often behind the scenes, to ensure our schools continue to thrive. This evening, recognizing their service and dedication, each board member will receive a certificate from our Western Suffolk BOCES, which reads, School Board Recognition Week, October 14th through October 18th, honoring the named board member for your ongoing support of public education and for your dedication to children. Signed by the board president of Western Suffolk BOCES. In addition, from the Amityville Union Free School District, Certificate of Appreciation in recognition of your service to the community from your very own superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot. At this time, we are going to ask if the board members would come forward to receive their certificate. Our Syntax Communication is here to take a group photo. Let's encourage them as they come. President Lisa Johnson. First Vice President Carol Seahor. Stand in the center. Thank you. Thank you. Second Vice President Megan Messman. Thank you. Wendy Canestro. Thank you. Caroline Fanning. Thank you. Leslie Kretz. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Chris Naring. Thank you. We had students from Northwest Elementary School to provide cards of acknowledgements for you as well. Please take a group photo. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. At this time, I want to introduce an exciting opportunity for our district. We are proposing on tonight's agenda a partnership with the National Coalition of Black Women, Long Island, Suffolk County Chapter. This organization is dedicated to advocacy, empowerment, and leadership development, and they are eager to serve as mentors to some of our high school girls. The impact of positive mentorship in the lives of our young women cannot be overstated. Through this partnership, we hope to provide guidance, encouragement, and real-world insights that will help these student scholars navigate both academic and personal challenges, building a strong foundation for their futures. At this time, I introduce to you the president of the Long Island Suffolk County Chapter of the National Coalition of Black Women, Ms. Madeline Quintine McConney.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the warm reception. I would like to let you know that our organization is extremely excited about this endeavor, and we hope to make an impact on some of these young children's lives as best as we can, and for all of the mentoring that we have done through the years with young people. I think it will be very effective, and I think you will be very happy and on point with what we have to in our endeavor. I'm going to introduce Cheryl Mtg, who is our vice president, first vice president of programming, and she will direct you through the rest of the PowerPoint. Okay, and then we have all our lovely ladies here who are a part of the committee. Have our committee chair, Sherelle Carter. We have Evita Morrow. Reverend Alexi Burgess. Don't get me. No, don't wait, but they're part of the committee, so that's what, oh, but you are too, right? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So stand up, put your name there, because I'm just like, I'm like lost. Okay, all right, and she's part of, you're part of the committee, okay. So the other two, they're part of the whole Suffolk County chapter, but this is our crew, okay? Cheryl Mchunguzi, you come on.
Good evening, board and members. It's a pleasure to be here today. Our president stated we're very excited to be part of this initiative. And I'll tell you why. One of the reasons why we're excited to be part
Excuse me, just move the mic over a little bit more to your mouth.
Like this one?
Yeah.
All right. Seems like it's so booms, right? So part of the reason, the main reason why we're excited about this program is because of the years of education, schooling, and life experience that our organization can bring to the young ladies in the district, right? Specifically the high school. So we want to take our talents, skills, and abilities and actually share them with our young people to give them a perspective. We also want to give them some additional tools so they can navigate adolescence, right? I'm a psychotherapist. We have retired teachers and educators and stuff, what you'll see in a few minutes on this. And I know firsthand that our children are struggling. They're struggling in terms of their own identity. They're struggling in terms of negotiating the outside noise. And they're also struggling with their mental health. The only way that anything changes is if you give new information and new processes or tools, I call them, in order to help you navigate these things. So that is our mission. That is our intention. So let me proceed with the PowerPoint. This is the clicker? Oh, great. All right, good. So the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Suffolk County Chapter, New York, collective of group of women dedicated to the promotion of leadership, development, mentorship, health, education, economic empowerment to all Black women and girls. Clicking, not clicking. Is that good? Okay. So let's tell a little bit about, this is a national organization. It's not kicking. No. All right. I can go for my notes if necessary. Okay. Right. Okay, thanks. So let's a little bit about our national organization that sets the precedent of what do we do in our local chapters. The National Coalition 100 Black Women, Inc. was launched in October 24th of 1981. Representatives from 14 states in the District of Columbia selected Jewel Jackson McCabe as their first national president. Mission was to advocate on behalf of women of color through national and local actions, strategic alliances, promote NCBW agenda on leadership development, gender equity in the areas of health, education, economic empowerment. We now represent 62 chapters representing 26 states plus Washington, D.C. So the local chapters get their direction from the national organization in terms of the focus of our policies, which is health, economic development, education, and policy and advocacy. So this is our mentoring team. Our mentoring chair, Chevelle D. Carter, Finance Management, New York Presbyterian, Columbia Presbyterian, Reverend Alexi Burgess, Masters in Education and Counseling, Letitia Owens, educator and certified social emotional coach, Avita Mauro, MA and a PhD in candidate and a DEI practitioner, Lauren Jackson with a master's in educational technology, community and youth advocacy and mentoring, Honorable Valerie M. Cartwright, New York State Supreme Court Justice, Overseer Diane Seaman, licensed psychotherapist, and Allison Jonas, Bachelor of Psychology, African and Puerto Rican Studies. So we just want to give you a little bit of who is at the table doing what. And as you can see, we have a very wide variety of skill sets. Right, so we want to give you just a little idea of just the 10 modules. We're actually doing 10 modules within the schools district, right? 10 modules, and each part of each module has a education component, but it also includes interactive activities. And these interactive activities are built in to challenge the young people in terms of decision making, and also to give them some new information. So when they're out there involved in the communities or around their friends or in places where your parents do not see, they will have some skills and some information to make better decisions. Because you know they have half brain. We call them in the field half brain kids. Their brain is not developed till they get 25. So therefore their frontal lobe is reacting, right? It's not even developed. So they react more than they think. So we need to give them more tools and directions so that information will be in there when they're faced with some of those issues and concerns they are in the community. That's what we aim to do. Give them a toolbox so they can call upon. All right, so you can see some of the areas in which we are providing the sessions. And like I say, this is the education component, but we also have an interactive component to each one of these modules. Oh, where we go. All right. So we're just going to go through this. We want you to get an idea of what exactly we're going to be presenting. So this is an example of one of our modules. the healthy mindset. Okay, okay, we're gonna go to wrap this up soon. All right. So you can't move forward unless you have a foundation to do that with. So we are going to be working with the young people to give them a foundation, so therefore they can connect to all the other modules that come across, right? And we also know that information, you might have to repeat it more than one time in order for it to stick. So our activities are also built with that in mind. Okay. Right, you can just go through them. So you can see how we're building. Mindset is beliefs that shape and make sense of the world and yourself. Influences how you think, feel, behave in given situation. Right. Counter a problem, challenge mindset determines how we shape. And remember, every one of these type of presentations have an activity to kind of reinforce the learning. Right. Visuals are very important in terms of how it is someone perceives a thing and understands a thing. So this is that's one of the examples of that. Okay, creating a plan, right? We just don't happen in life. We can create a plan of where we want to go. It's important for young people to see a vision of a goal, right? A lot of people don't know what goals are. They think they're just their dreams, but goals take planning steps to get to those goals. We're going to help them with that, develop that skill. All right. But our minds are different. Once the building configuration is set in place, there are no do-overs. Think deeply. Activities 1 and 2. Get them to think. What does the future look like for you if you follow the negative thoughts that you could drag you down? What does the future look like for you if you redesign a blueprint for your life based on your positive, empowering thoughts? You know, everybody, what I know from the work that I've been doing for over, close to 20 years now. It's not what you feel, that's not what you think that moves your life, it's what you feel. And you have to get a handle on what you feel, so therefore your thinking changes. So we hope to give that perspective to our young girls. All right, you can go through it. I think that's the last slide, isn't it? Okay, all right. So it's a whole lot to this. We're excited to bring this to the school district. We're excited to be involved. We are committed our time, our talents, and our love to these young girls in the district. So without further ado, this is our presentation this evening. I hope that you got something from it and you got a good perspective of what it is that we're doing out here. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your interest in the Amityville School District and our young scholars. We are reminded that collaboration is the key, and it is our pleasure to partner with organizations of your stature so that we can impact our young leaders. Thank you once again. Now I'd like to turn our attention to an important part of this evening's agenda, the overview of our district's iReady data for grades K-12. This presentation will provide an overview into student performance baseline data in reading and math. It will include areas where we can focus our efforts to improve learning outcomes. Presenting this data is our very own Mary Stevens, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. Please celebrate her as she comes. She's getting off to an excellent start.
Thank you, Dr. Talbert. Thank you, members of the board and the community. So what I have this evening is just a brief overview of the iReady program as we're using it and some information about how we performed district-wide on the diagnostics. First, for anyone who is unfamiliar with iReady, just a brief understanding of what it is. So students participate in an adaptive diagnostic. So again, if you're not familiar, Adaptive means that the students are presented with questions and they are doing it electronically, so they are able to, based on the questions, receive questions that are appropriate for their level. If a question is too difficult for them, the next question they see will be different than, it will be at a lower level than the first one that they saw. So it's an adaptive diagnostic, and it is also an instructional tool. So once we receive the diagnostic results, we're able to tailor instruction for students to make sure that we're meeting them where they are. The diagnostic assessments pinpoint student proficiency levels, indicating to us whether they're on grade level in reading or math. And then we're able to provide that personalized instruction using our multi-tiered system to support them. Regular progress monitoring is part of the program. So throughout the school year, students are participating in assessments to determine how they are progressing toward meeting grade level standards or exceeding those standards. The components of the program that we use enable us to evaluate students in both reading and math. The categories, the domains in which we do get information are listed. So phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension using both literature and informational text. And then in the area of math, numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. And again, just based on student performance, the level of difficulty of questions they're receiving changes. So the data that we receive comes in the form of placement levels, indicating to us whether a student is performing below, at, or above grade level, and also scaled scores, which help us to monitor their growth and predict their progress for the end of the year. And we are able, what I'm going to show you, to receive domain-specific insights. So the domains that were on that slide are the areas that we're measuring. We can look at how students are performing in each of those, as well as their overall scores. So this first one, I apologize, it's small. In the area of reading, the domains are phonological awareness, phonics, high-frequency words, vocabulary, and comprehension overall, and then it is broken down into literature and informative text. So the students who are performing mid or above grade level have the green striped bar. The green bar is students who are early at their grade level. Yellow bars are students performing 1 grade below their assigned grade level. The red bar without the stripes is 2 grades below their assigned grade level. And the red bar with the stripes is 3 below grade level. So this is what we see district-wide. So again, we administer this assessment to students grades K through 9. The kindergarten data is not in here as they're currently participating in the diagnostic. Kindergarten gets a little bit later start to prepare them. So this is our K-9 data, and we're able to look at this domain. We can pull the same domain data for each building, and we can also pull it by grade level so that we're able to target instruction. We have a similar graphic for you for math. So again, the different domains are number and operations, the first one, algebra and algebraic thinking, the second, and finally measurement and data. And geometry. So looking at the data in both of those, you can see that we have much room for improvement in each of the domains. We are working together with the buildings on a plan for improvement. So this will focus on targeted intervention, reviewing those diagnostic results and looking at data in the domains based on grade level and building, and identifying what we are going to focus on for the year. but then also looking at the personalized learning pathways. So use the lessons that are available to work with students. The program is rich with resources for families, for students, and for teachers to work with them. We do encourage that students are working at home when possible, but we do a strive for 45 so that each classroom is spending 8 to 10 minutes daily working on reading and math. And then using those monitors, the progress monitoring to check on them, doing data reviews on grade levels, building wide, and then principals meeting with me to go over the data, what our strategies are producing and what we need to modify over the course of the school year. And then finally, the family involvement portion, making sure that we share the diagnostic results. So testing does take place 3 times a year. The first round is just completing. Families should expect to receive those results at parent conferences. Help parents to understand what those are, encourage them to practice at home. There is a community page that parents can click on through the class link that students access, and also ensuring that there's regular communication. It is our intent to post a narrated presentation for parents that's family friendly on the website. We also will have regular Title I meetings throughout the school year so that families can come and understand the progress their children are making, what they can do to support at home, and where we expect them to be at the end of the year. So making sure that families are partners in the process is critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask
I
one,
have
just
some
one
questions.
question. I'll make it quick. You said the first round was just completed. The second round occurs when, and when is the last assessment?
So the second round is winter. It occurs over January and February. Kindergarten again lags a little bit. So grades 1 through 9 begin January 13th for that second round. And the spring grades 1 through 9 begin May 27th. So that would be the end of the year testing.
Okay, and then my last question, then I'll go on to Carol. My last question is this, is that compared to last year, is it in the beginning of the year? Because I remember we did it, is it about the same, a little worse, or that's my question?
It is about the same, perhaps a little bit better, but about the same from the beginning of the year last year.
Okay, and then, but as we went into the second and third round in terms of assessment, we saw improvement.
We saw
last-
improvement over the course of last school year.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I think Carol, then I'll go down the line.
So we have many students 3 grades or below. Do we have the remedial staff to support those students?
So I'm currently working with the principals to evaluate what the plan is moving forward. As you know, there's 3 tiers of support. Those students at the 3+ are the ones that will need the level 3 support. So we're working to make sure that they have enough support.
Okay. And at what point are we picking up students for remediation? 6 months behind, 1 year behind?
I would have to check with the principals on their specific plans, but I believe that it's once they're 1 year behind.
Okay. And on an elementary level, are we still using Fontes and Pinnell to ascertain reading levels?
We are still using Fontes and Pinnell for evaluation. We have a number of different systems to look at various parts of the reading program.
And in looking at the data, is there a correlation between Fontes and Pinnell and iReady?
There is some correlation there. We see the greater correlation in the statewide testing, the predictor for statewide testing.
Okay. The iReady lessons, are they being given during remedial classes or in the classroom with teachers?
So the Strive for 45 are the lessons that are designed to meet the students' individual needs. The others are resources provided so they can be used by teachers providing remediation. They can also be used by classroom teachers.
Okay. And are we also using foundations
We are currently using foundations as well.
and also leveled literacy learning?
Some level literacy learning is still occurring.
Okay. Okay, and on a secondary level,
Mhm.
what does the remedial program look like?
Students are at the middle school, there are reading teachers providing AIS support for students. They are using primarily the iReady resources to provide support. At the high school, students are getting AIS support from their English teachers. Those are linked. And our reading teacher is providing Read 180 support for multilingual learners.
And we're also using Wilson, correct?
There is Wilson support for students who are in need of that service.
Okay. Reading recovery, are we still using reading recovery?
There is limited reading recovery that is still being done for students who qualify for
Is
that
that just Northwest?
at Northwest.
Okay, very
Mhm.
good. Thank you.
Right, so Caroline said she doesn't have any questions, correct? Okay, Megan, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens, for the presentation. I think I've been asking for this since July, so I appreciate it. Unfortunately, we only received it last night, so I couldn't provide any feedback. And the graph is really, I just really was hoping for greater granularity, because this is like, we're looking at grades 1 through 12. And so it doesn't feel like I actually have a handle on where we stand per grade level. If, where we're really, if it's a certain grade or, whatever, like to better understand where the district truly stands and what steps then are being taken to analyze that data and come up with a plan to improve the performance. So I like that you said that you were gonna record something for the parents. I had that in a suggested email this weekend because I knew that we were gonna run over an executive session today. We had jammed way too much in. And I said, it could be more focused for the parents. Is that something that the Board of Education would see ahead of time so that we can provide our thoughts and our feedback ahead of posting?
If it is the pleasure of the board to receive the presentation, that's a parent-friendly template. We'd be more than happy to provide it for you. Normally, we would post those and make those available for parents on the website. But if it's the pleasure of the board to have it first as a trial run, we'd be more than happy to provide that.
Do we all have to say something now? Should we all say yes or no now?
What I would prefer to do is just get a little bit more information before I say yes or no. So I don't have a problem with it, but I just want a little bit more information about what's going to be entailed.
Okay, because I don't want it to slip through the cracks. We have so much business and we have so many emails.
Understood.
So it is certainly my desire to see ahead of time. So thank you very much.
Wendy, do you have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. The only thing that I would ask in presentations going forward, I know this has come up before, if data is being provided, like colors aren't doing it, like I want numbers, specific numbers that we could go according to. It's really not providing us with information that we need. And if it's being posted for the parents, I think the same information needs to be shared, numbers, okay.
Chris, do you have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. Sorry. I guess I would agree that numbers would be more helpful, and if you'd be able to show kind of progress from year to year, just so we could see if we're improving or not. And that would be it. Thank you.
Leslie, any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again. This concludes our presentations for the evening. Once again, we celebrate our school board members. We thank the National Coalition of Black Women. We appreciate you joining us. And Mary Stevens, thank you for the overview. Let's continue to work together for the betterment of our student scholars and community. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, is there any community input regarding board agenda items only?
Jacqueline Stevenson, just a quick input regarding agenda item 2B1, student rep to Board of Education. Back on August 28th at the meeting, Ms. Johnson, you said that you had hoped the student could be on the board by the October meeting. So I was just wondering if you have an anticipated start date.
At this point in time, we don't because this policy, we just met as a policy committee and it's considered the first reading. So once the board approves the policy, then that's when we could start the process to get someone on the board, student on the
Okay,
board.
so you don't have an anticipated date
At
as
this
of
point in
right
time,
now?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Just Eileen, start the 15-minute one.
How are you, James Giambroni? I just have a quick question about the National Coalition of 100 Black Women thing. I just wanted to be, because they kept saying all women, all women. That includes white, Latino, Asian, across the board, or
So
we're
just
or we're
answer the question. So you're asking, just, you want to ask us whether or not, does it
Well,
include
my
everyone?
personal belief is the biggest form of racism is separation. So I'm just trying to get, because I don't assume the school has
Just,
one.
you just have to speak to us, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll
Thank-
speak to you.
Thank you.
Is the population of the school 100% Black women?
No,
Or
it's
are
not.
there white, Latino, Asian, everything else? So are we going to take the other areas of women that are in the school and deny them access to this program?
So I don't,
Just,
I don't, I would have to
no,
find out.
so
So-
white women,
so what-
Latino women.
I will
So-
find out for you if it's open up to everyone. I believe that it is, but I will find out if it's open to
Well, they're
everyone.
right here.
Okay. So right now, this is the time for Dr. Talbot can answer the question. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the organization has met with Ms. Stevens, myself, and the high school administration over the course of a year. And the student selections will be heterogeneous. Race is not an impact on whether a child will be selected. It's based upon the selection of the high school administration and teachers who are providing them feedback. This organization does serve young women of all colors and ethnicities.
Okay, I just want to be clarify that.
Okay.
'Cause
Thank
it's
you.
it's very like not really clear when it's 100 Black women as opposed to 100 Latino or Asians or anything else. And that kind of makes it a little bit of a racist thing. So I just wanted to clarify that all women, are eligible to be helped by it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Robert Playa. 2B4, the Policy on Health and Safety Committee regulation. Are the security guards included in the safety committee? And is there a representative for the security guards to be represented on that committee?
I just have, go ahead, Dr. Talbot. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you and good evening. Yes, our security consultant is a member of the committee, and there has been outreach to have the union representation for our security personnel to be in attendance at the meetings moving forward.
What are the limitations of a security guard?
The limitations?
In other words, what can they do? What can't they do? Do they monitor fights? Do they break up fights? Do they go into the classroom if there's a disturbance? What exactly is it that they do?
I'm not sure if I could answer that as specifically, perhaps as maybe satisfactory. But the primary responsibility of security is to secure the building, to ensure that there are no unidentified strangers entering the building, to assist the school administration, faculty, and staff in maintaining order throughout the building. If there is a volatile situation that has arisen in a classroom or a cafeteria, they do intervene in terms of safety protocols to ensure that the students or those involved are safe as possible and they can break up a situation following their training.
Okay. Number 324. Interpreters and translators, what's the difference?
What number did you say? I'm sorry.
24.
Oh, 3B24.
Three B 24.
I'm sorry, misunderstood.
We have a number of appointments for interpreters and a number of appointments for translators. What's the difference?
Dr. Talbot.
Sure. So it's very important to us that we are able to communicate with our diverse population. And so those who are being presented tonight as interpreters can be called upon to orally interpret parent night meetings, various functions that we have throughout the district. The district has hearing devices at the various schools that perhaps if you need to hear what's being said in Spanish, you're able to put the device in your ear and an interpreter will repeat what is being said in Spanish. The translator is the designated persons who would translate in writing the documents and various written material that we would need translated into a second or third language.
Are these people hired on an as-need basis, or are they hired throughout the whole year?
Yes, I'm going to ask Ms. Stevens to kind of share with you the procedure that we follow in terms of them receiving assignments and how it works.
So after they are appointed tonight, they are used on an as-need basis. The schools can put requests in directly to those who have been approved by the board. They submit timesheets for hourly work if they're doing oral. If they're doing translations, they submit sheets and work product, and they're paid based on a per page rate. We do keep a spreadsheet, so we're tracking the usage. We have an idea of how much we're using, what languages for what documents, and then we keep a repository of translated documents, so we're not translating the same documents over and over.
Can we do these services through BOCES and be aided with BOCES aid?
The services are not aidable by BOCES. They are available through BOCES, but they are typically part of what we're required to provide, and there can be funding through our foundation aid for them, so they're not usually aidable. We do use BOCES services when we're unable to fulfill the need that we have for the district. That typically happens during the testing periods when students need interpreters for Regents exams, or when we need to score exams written in other languages.
3B 68. What is exactly the duty of a chaperone? We have a lot of chaperones.
Dr. Talbot.
So the chaperones for the district, they provide supervision for various events. So for example, if the high school is having a nighttime dance, then they can choose from those who've been approved as chaperones to have them attend the dance and provide the adequate supervision required.
Okay, so that would be on a program per basis.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Any, yes.
Hi, Danelle Cronin, Amityville, New York. I have a question in reference to 3B 13. Confused as to why this would be on the agenda. I had filed documentation with the district.
So, hold
Okay,
on,
no,
hold-
but let me finish.
no, hold on a
And
second.
1 second, I'm
John,
here to question
John,
policy.
John,
I'm not
hold-
here to
hold-
question
hold-
personnel. I'm
hold-
here to question policy.
Hold on a second. Please, go ahead, John.
So, questions or comments or discussion about specific members of the staff or personnel are not appropriate for public discussion, and they're out of order
Okay, how about policy?
in terms of
The policy.
policy was to policy as it affects a specific member of the staff or personnel is also out of order. So with respect to, if you're asking about the application of a policy to a specific member or discussion about the policy's implementation with respect to a specific member of the staff, that is also not appropriate for public discussion.
Okay, how about between attorney to attorney?
With respect to attorney, My.
So if I choose to
my-
hire an attorney, he contacts you, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great.
Good.
You'll hear from him.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Winsome Cook, Grand Central Avenue. I would like to go back to the iReady. Ms. Stevens, is it possible for us to get a breakdown grade by grade? You know, you showed us the graph, and I think for us as parents, working with our children, it would be most beneficial if you could present to us in the future, grade by grade, on what's going on in terms of iReady. And my other question is, I thought Read 180 was an elementary program.
Dr. Talbot, would you like to respond?
Read 180 is appropriate for high school students for whom it is leveled. So we do use it with our multilingual population, and it is appropriate.
So it depends on the level that they're at, is what you're saying. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And you made mention, or it was mentioned, that information will be put on the website for parents and families. And I would just like to suggest that it is explained to parents. It's great to say we put it on the website, but a lot of our parents do not understand. And I think we need to be more attuned to the community and what their needs are, rather than what's easiest for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Margaret Jeff Amityville. I would like to start this commentary on a high because I am thrilled beyond words that policy 9150 has been or at least voted on, because I think it's over 2 years that we've been discussing this policy. And my question, part B to this, is did it mirror the West Babylon or Babylon School District to the letter? As I basically wrote and emailed and spoke at this podium about. Is it identical?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And regarding the iReady, thanks for the presentation, but I second all the commentary regarding the percentages and the colors, and it doesn't work. But I think I think a legend or a key is absolutely necessary. I think a description of the fact that it's 3 tests throughout the year, it goes by X grade, like a whole composition of what it's comprised of would be very beneficial. And when you say that you're going to put this on the website for the parents, it's great, but you have to almost feel like you have to almost have a parental meeting to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to achieve. This is our goal, and make it like a really rah-rah situation where we're really going to strive and drive this initiative and get it going, because we've been here, done that already. We've seen the results. We saw what the first September results were. They were abysmal, and they really didn't grow that much. So if we can really get by the bootstraps and really send this home, it would be wonderful for these children. And the other thing was with the interpreters and the translators. Why is there not an interpreter or translator in this meeting all the time so that they can get the hearing aid, and that we can invite the majority of this parental group and all the parents and guardians so that they can be part of this process. Their voices could be heard, and they could be just as involved as everyone sitting here. And the last thing is with the 100 Black women mentorship. Mentorship for anybody is fantastic. It is a
Ms.
great
Shaw,
program.
just kind of directed towards us.
Fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thrilled to hear that there is some type of mentorship program that is open to anyone who seeks it. But my question was, what is selected? That was a buzzword that jumped off the page for me. And this high school, these women who are going to be part of this program, they are, quote, selected, or they are stopped at the door if they just want to show up. What's the head count for this thing? How often is it going to happen? Is it going to be over these 10 modules? Are they going to be over the course of the school year? Can they join in a freshman situation? Can they grow, hopefully, if the program works and they come back year over year? And this freshman student is getting mentorship from 9th grade to 12th grade, and the 12th grade students get application for college information. They get mentorship on college compositions and essays and things of that sort. So if you can grow the program, so a ninth grader can get this mentorship all the way through. And are they
So-
selected or they stopped at the door if they're not selected?
So the program is open to 15 eligible high school girls. They will meet
That's-
with them once a week after school hours. And this is the initial piloting of the program. So they will go through the 10 modules, one module a week. And Ms. Cheryl did share those from healthy mindsets to self-love. And it's heterogeneous, so some of the youngsters will be 9th grade and others will be other grades. And this will be our very first round at it, and as it grows, more girls will be added.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to agenda item 2A1 through 5P. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2A1 through 5?
So moved.
I think Megan Messon was first, Carol Seehoff was second. Any questions regarding these items? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. For agenda items 2B1 through 5, this is the first reading for these policies. All of them, except for policy 3210, where there were changes that occurred on the policy in terms of updating of names. All the other policy 2245, 5605, 8112, and 9150 are all new policies. As the policy committee, which is myself, Wendy Canestro, and Chris Nearing, we are asking the board members to review these policies, and if you have any questions or feedback, please provide them to the policy committee. The goal is to have them approved by the next meeting. Also, just to kind of keep in mind, if there are no questions regarding any of these policies, it could be the first and final reading. So if everyone has reviewed the policies and there's no questions, then we can also make it the first and final reading. So the question I have for the board, are you prepared? Have you reviewed the policies? Are you prepared to make a decision on any of them tonight, or do you need a second reading for them?
I think we'd like to
A
provide
second.
feedback.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. All right, so please make sure that you review the policies and provide feedback to the policy committee, and we're going to be working to have another meeting for a policy committee very soon.
Can I provide some thoughts?
Oh, yeah,
or-
sure, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2245, the student representative to the Board of Education. I guess 4B, this junior student is elected for an optional 2-year term, but it's an annual appointment, so I was a little bit, wasn't sure about that. So I was kind of going to suggest to just remove that and leave it as an annual appointment. And then G, appointees must have attended the high school for at least 1 year. I wasn't sure why that was necessary because we're pulling from student council. So I figure if a student is on student council, even if they're only in the district for 1 year, I think they're pretty high achieving representative. So those are two that just jumped out as two thoughts.
I mean, I'm on the policy committee. Can I
You
speak?
can go.
Sure. The thought was to have the junior elected for a second year just for continuity, but I understand what you're saying if you just want to do it annual, so it's less confusing. And if that junior wants to do it again, they just put in for it again. As far as the appointees must have attended the high school for at least 1 year, I was in favor of removing that. And just so most people understand, NYSBA provides samples a lot of times, but we're able to amend them as we see fit. So I'm okay with removing G and removing B, just to make it clearer and more understanding.
I think for being on policy, I think that I'm fine with B, but my preference would be to leave G in because then it allows for someone if they've never been in the district before, to at least have been here for at least a year or two. That's just to have a better understanding of the school. That was my feeling in terms of staying on for more than a year. So I think what we can do is get feedback from everyone, and then we can add it, and we go back to the policy committee, make a decision if we're going to change it or.
Lisa, maybe go down the line.
Yeah, I am, because Chris is over there.
I have one other point. At the policy meeting, we discussed 4A, where it's 2 students, 1 junior and 1 senior shall represent the secondary student body. We said that one of these students should be a junior or a senior, in case we didn't have enough interest from the juniors, that we would still be able to have 2 representatives from the student body.
So changing that to or, 1 junior or 1 senior.
Right, so it should be 1 senior and 1 junior or senior.
Right.
Right,
Right.
so 2 students, consider, I don't know how you want to word that.
So we can adjust the
Consideration for
word.
1 junior and 1, or 1 senior,
We can work on the wording.
and or 1 senior.
Yeah, we'll work on the wording for that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty sure I said it right.
Yeah, you did. Anything else, Chris?
And then the junior student elected to an optional 2-year term. I could see how that might be confusing. But the whole idea between the junior being one of the representatives is with the hopes that it's continuity and they are then the senior the following year. So maybe if we can come up with a different way to word that, because I do think it's important that they are the representative for the following year and kind of encourage the fact that that is the case.
If they want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, if they want it to be. But maybe we just enforce that to the junior that would hopefully be incoming, that is the expectation. That being said, there is the possibility that any of them resign from the position, the junior or the senior, and then we would just appoint somebody else.
Right.
So it's not like there's any penalty for them resigning from the position.
Correct.
So if they choose to stay on, you would only vote for 1 new representative in a year, right?
So that
That's
changes
what you're
Ideally.
saying.
Then
So
that
would you have
changes
to
the
write that
whole
in here?
Then would you have to change A?
Yeah, so what we'll do is, I'm taking down some of the notes, and what we can do is we have to discuss it as a policy committee, and then once again, redraft it and send it back to the policy for review. Yes, so Caroline had a comment.
Yeah,
and then go to Karen.
I might be looking at the original version. Is it the case now that they come from the student council? It's not from the entire student body?
The recommendation was from student council.
Okay, I guess I forgot that, but when I saw that they have to be within the district for a year, I was thinking of a new kid, civic-minded, wanting to get involved, maybe wanted to be a part of it, and getting shut out would be unfortunate for someone. A new kid probably isn't on student council, but who knows, maybe they are. So I wouldn't want to deny a new kid the opportunity to be a member.
I see your point, but I would think that a student like that wants to be involved would maybe take the step with student council first.
Right.
I forgot that student council was.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we said, we determined student council because they're civic-minded children that want to give back already. And we didn't want it to be this big popularity contest. We wanted, students that were civic-minded to come here, so. Yeah, that was the thought behind
Right,
that.
so
And also with the 1 year, student having to be here for 1 year, I just want to say on that too, if you have a new student, if they start in September, they're starting to be, okay, I already said it, it's right.
I have the notes, and I think we all have the notes. When we go
So-
back to the policy committee, we will look at it, review it, and send it back. So let's kind of move it along. And
Okay.
Carol, do you have anything to add to it?
No, I think
Okay.
what you said, move it along and we
Yeah.
can.
So
add to
what will be beneficial to the board members is that if you have any questions or comments about the policies, to send it over to us. We can make changes on it and then share it back with everyone. So therefore, we get all comments. Okay.
Well, 1 second to that, because I think that you have to have consensus or a majority to change any of these things. So I do think as we have feedback, it should be noted if we have enough people to change it or, right?
So right now, we don't have enough, so that's why I made notes. and we'll send it to everyone again and just kind of see what the feelings are, and just put it, put it down, okay?
And I don't know if this fits into this portion or if this would be part of the old business or new business, but this policy wouldn't be in effect until the following school year because they would be elected this spring, but then they would take their office before then. So
Okay.
I know had the general consensus that we would want to have someone effective for this school year. So I don't know if that's part of the discussion now or we talk about that later on. Because I know that wouldn't fully fit in this policy.
Go
I
ahead, John.
believe you would need some advice of counsel on that with
Okay.
respect to the effective date of the legislation. That is, that may have resulted in a change in the requirements for whether the board required voter approval to add a member to the board or not, and the effective date of that,
Okay.
of that
All right,
legislation.
all right, thank you. All right, so I have noted the comments, and I believe my other policy committee members have, and so we'll make adjustments and send it out to everyone again.
I have other comments about that. The 3210 organizational chart, I think that that could probably be adopted. It just had everybody's name updated on it. It was outdated.
Yeah. That's fine with me. That's what I was asking, if there's anyone if there were any ones that we could do first and final read. So the question is for the other ones, for obviously 2245. Another part too, legal has not reviewed all of these policies as of yet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, so Wendy, I would wait just to make sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, does the community have access to these draft ones? Was that on the website?
No, not yet. I don't think, no.
But aren't we asking for community input on this? Why wouldn't the community have access to see the draft?
At this point in time, we can make the decision as a policy committee if we want to put them up as a draft to review. It's up,
Well, John,
it does make a difference. to
may
us.
I just
Because
ask
we also
counsel
have
on
to have a
that?
review by legal. Legal needs to review it as
No,
well.
I understand, but council, my experience has always been like the community had access to see at a meeting what we're talking about with the policies, with a draft obviously on it, because it's a first reading.
That would be my recommendation, yes.
Yes, so that hasn't happened, so I'm asking that that does happen.
That would be my recommendation, that it be posted.
Okay. As far as 9150, I know that I've advocated for that for two years, and it was recommended the same language. Our council wrote it for Babylon as well. It protects children, so I'm happy to see that there.
That's fine.
Okay. Can I have comments on something?
Yeah, I said it's fine, yeah.
Does anybody want to talk about 9150, or can I go to another one?
You can go another one.
Okay.
No one had,
No one else. The Health and Safety Committee. There's a number of representatives that are not applicable to the district. So number 2, we don't have the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, unless that's supposed to say.
Is that supposed to say pupil person? No, this is the regulation that was given to us, 8112R. And this is what's on our agenda, so I have the same thing in front of me.
Okay, so I'm looking at 8112R, and I just got handed 8112.
all right, so
So,
ladies and gentlemen, let's kind of, we have to review this and make sure, because all I have is 8112. So we need to just kind of pull back. Let's take a look at it and we'll send it back out
You
again.
don't have this one?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
All
This
right.
one's,
Okay,
there's
so
a
we'll get into the
regulation
first
and there's
reading
a
again, I
policy. The
guess.
regulation is
Yeah.
tighter
Right.
than the policy. So just so people know what we're talking about, some of us have the regulation in front of us, and I guess some of us have the policy.
Right.
And there just needs to be changes on the regulation to be current.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
the regulation is what is listed on the agenda.
Right, so we're not, once again, this is a first read. We have
Well-
to review it, and so I don't have the regulation. All I have is the 8112. So,
Well, can you share it? Like if it's on the agenda for first reading, we can't go ahead to a second reading unless we're discussing this. Or are you saying you're going to put it on for first reading the next
I'll
meeting?
put it first reading for the next. meeting.
Understood. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right,
Oh,
you're
can,
welcome.
okay, so can we adopt this? Oh, no, we can't, John.
No, because John has to review them all.
Understood. Thank
Okay.
you.
Madam President, just a point of clarity. We are looking at the health and safety regulation. Is there a policy that is accompanying that? What
This-
I just passed to trustee Messman was a policy.
Correct.
So is it our goal to include both a policy and the regulation?
That's why I'm saying that as a policy committee, we have to go
Yes.
back to look at. Yeah, we have to go back as a policy committee to look
Yeah.
at both of them together. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
well,
saying.
and
make it-
hopefully we could get a date on the calendar for
Yes.
November?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
We have a big policy book.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. All right, I'm gonna move on. Can I move on? Do you have any other questions? All right, so can I go to agenda item 2C1, please?
Motion. Second, sorry.
Megan Messrs first, Carol Seehoff is second. So the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, be resolved, the Board of Education has appointed the following committee members to participate in the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee. If you are here, if you can kindly stand up, that would be greatly appreciated. Once again, I believe everyone has it, but I'll just quickly say that the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee scope of work, the Board of Education seeks to utilize the committee members to expertise and review of the school district proposed budget based on the following scope of work. All right, so I'm not going to read everything here. The names are, and please, if I don't say your name correctly, please correct me. Marty Allen Bates, are you here? Thank you. Mikkel, I think he was going to join. He's away in college, so he's going to join possibly. Kathy Ivino, okay. Just stay standing, make sure that I have everyone. So Marty, who's Marty? Okay. Mikkel, no, not yet. Online. Kathy Ivino. John. Janet Brown. Winsome Brown Cook. Richard Cronin. Rachel Edwards. Diane Eglina. I'm sorry, Diana. Jamel Ellis. Melissa Farley. Kenneth Jacobs. Huh? I am.
Wait, why are you crossing them off? No, but I think if they can't, if,
No, I think they said he declined. Can
oh,
decline. Deborah McQuillan. Kathleen Nugent. Christopher Papil, thank you. Cheryl Quintine Best. Dina Rosenberg. Kathleen Ward. Okay. So thank you all for submitting your names and being considered for the committee, and we look forward to the work and the reports you're going to provide to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion to table agenda item 2C2, please?
motion.
Wendy Kness was first. Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I do agenda items 2C, 3, and 4 together? Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C? Ladies and gentlemen, there was an updated agenda that was sent out to us yesterday afternoon. Yeah, it was there.
It would be great if we could have an updated one at the table, so we have it in front of us when we vote.
All right, so agenda, so what we're gonna need to do It's a, student stipulation, 2 student stipulations and general release. for 2.
Okay, understood.
All right, so motion for agenda item 2C3 and 2C4.
Motion.
Second.
Wendy Knessel first, Megan Messon is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. All right, so. All right, so as Wendy's making it back to the table, the two, the next one is 3A1 and 2, that has been there. Can I have a motion for agenda items 3A1 and 2?
So moved.
Second.
Carol Seehoff is first, Chris Neron is second. Any questions regarding, any, okay, hold on a
I
second.
think we have
I'm
to
gonna,
take it separate.
I'm gonna rescind that motion. Sorry about, rescind the motion
do
for
separate,
agenda
yes.
item 3A1 and 2. Can I have a motion to rescind, please?
Motion.
Second.
Wendy, Megan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carry 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3A1, please?
So
Motion.
moved.
Right.
Second.
All right, time out, you're too quick, too quick. So agenda item 3A1 and 2, we rescinded that emotion. We had to rescind that.
Rescinded that.
So we're
Now
gonna,
We're voting on,
yes, I'm
Right.
gonna do them separately.
and I made a motion.
All right, so 3A1 is Carol Seehoff, Wendy Canestro is second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3A2, please?
Motion.
Second.
Wendy Canestro's first, Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion carries 7-0. Can I do agenda items 3B1 through 4 together? And I will add the name in for 3.
Yes. Motion.
Give motion, Winnie Canestro is first,
Second.
Carol Seehoff is second. So under the discussion, the resolution for 3B3, which is the part-time director for fine arts, for fine and performing arts, it's going to be Dr. Fran Fernandez is going to be the person that's going to go into that name slot. So thank you, Fran, for. Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion to withdraw agenda item 3B5, please?
Motion.
Second.
Megan Messers first, Wendy Canestro second. All those, any discussion on this item? We have to table it.
I have a
Wait,
comment just about personnel overall. If, when we're getting these, could we get maybe more information, like head count, what we have this year to last year, so we know if we're adding teachers, losing teacher positions, and if those positions are remaining within the budget, and if there's still vacancies after we fill this.
okay.
So it's not just us blindly sort of appointing people.
Each month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
With,
noted. So he'll,
so like,
can
you have,
you just send it to
just
her and
say we have 10 DASA coordinators that you're putting up. I'm just making up a number. I don't know how many there are in this. How many were there last year? And if that's the same number that there was last year, or did we add that to that position? Did we lose to that position?
So I think what needs to be clarified is that there's certain positions that are not, it's not a teacher position. It's not like we're putting a teacher, we're
Yeah.
hiring a teacher. So the DASA is like an additional responsibility that
Right.
person takes.
I-
So are you looking for a teaching?
Meaning like the that position, how many people were in that position last year?
He wants an audit for each
Not
agenda provided.
necessarily an
Not
audit,
an audit.
but so you have, like, if we have one track coach, and then next year we're trying to appoint two track coaches, how would I know that that's the
Okay, we
normal
understand.
case if we don't have any kind of reporting?
Dr. Talbot is.
So internally, and I do understand your concern, internally, we have a routing tracker that when a posting is going forward, it is signed by our assistant super for curriculum and instruction. It goes to the business office. Their signatory indicates that there's a budget code and the allotted money for it. And then it comes to my office and I'm the final signatory. So before there is a posting, money has been identified and it's properly accounted for. So any positions that we're bringing you here are in the budget unless otherwise spoken to the board about the need and any recommended adjustments. For example, with the part-time director of fine and performing arts, a full-time director's position was in the budget. It was determined that the greater need at present lied with the high school having the administrative support, and thus this position was adjusted accordingly.
Okay, so then my example for that position would be, last year would be the number would be 1, this year it would be 0.5. So that way, we just have it in black and white that this was an existing position, but now we're just filling half of that position.
Okay, we can talk about the formatting and the
yeah.
frequency.
Yeah,
So,
The human capital
Right.
required to do it, we'd have to just sort of look at the best way that we could provide it for you. Would you give us some time to do that?
all right,
Okay.
so we have a motion on the table, so that was kind of, I appreciate your comment, but I'm gonna keep moving forward. So for 3B5, so this is the thing, this is the conversation that we're having right now about this. I think it's important, but it's not connected to the agenda item that we're currently addressing. So once we get to the end, you can bring it back up again,
Can I
but
just ask one question?
is
Do
it,
we need board consensus, or, because I don't want it to slip through the cracks.
so
that-
what I'm saying is
and
that
then
when we
come
get.
back and say we didn't have
Saying
board
do it
consensus.
after
I'm
it's
saying
action items.
These
Oh,
are,
let's
these
do
are
it
all our
later.
action items. So let's
Okay,
get through
sure.
the action items first, and then when we get to board stuff, okay?
Okay.
All right,
thank you.
all those in favor for agenda item 3B5?
To be removed.
Yes.
To be-
I got a first and second already.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B6, please?
Motion.
Second.
Winnie Knessler's first, Chris Neeren second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion to withdraw agenda item 3B7, please?
So moved.
Second.
Carol C. Hoff, Winnie Knessler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I do agenda items 3B8 through 3B12 together?
Yes.
Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B8 to 3B12, please?
Motion.
Second.
Winnie Knessler, Chris Neeren. Any discussion on these items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B13, please?
So moved.
Second.
Carol C. Hoff is first, Chris Neeren is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That's 4 yeses. All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So it's Lisa Johnson, Carol C. Hoff, Leslie Kretz, and Chris Neeren for yes. Winnie Canestro, Megan Messman, and Caroline Fanning for no. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B14 through 18, please?
Motion.
3B14 to 18, okay.
Why is that so?
I can go 3B14 all the way down to,
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
okay. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B14 to, can I go all the way to 3B 220? Yeah, we can ask questions. I'm just asking, can I do them all together? Does anyone need anything done separately from 3B20 to 3B14 to 3B220. Can I do them all together? Please make sure, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have a few questions. but
That's
yeah.
fine. I just want to know if I do
Yes.
one. Okay. Motion 3B14 to 3B220. Have a motion?
Second.
Motion.
I think I got. Winnie Canestro, Carol Seal. Any questions on these agenda items?
I have a question. What was the revision for 205 and 206? And 218?
205, 206, and 218. Dr. Wade?
205 and 206 was the stipend to be paid, had to be revised. And what was the other one?
218.
218, that individual's step and salary had to be revised.
Are these things reviewed before they go on the agenda? So we're not voting on things the second time? This is the second meeting that we're doing this.
Any other?
That was a question.
Yes, the items are revised. In this case, these stipends were not accurate when they were first voted on. They were revised to reflect the accuracy. But to answer your question, yes,
Yes.
they are reviewed prior to them coming to the board.
I have another question. I mean, well, it's just a comment. I know that we're appointing all these chaperones. I think I counted 89 chaperones. There are no class trips this year, so I know that we mentioned that there are a couple of dances. So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, it's 89 people, and how many dances are we having?
But there's also many music evenings
But-
throughout the year.
And I think,
Concerts and whatnot, and we need chaperones for those as well as, what else?
I think also
Doc-
just keep
Dr.
in mind,
Talbot?
just also just kind of keep in mind that when we are appointing these individuals, no one's getting paid unless their services are utilized.
No,
So-
I understand that. So
so
my question was to Dr. Talbot. Since there's no class trips, how many events would you think that we have that we need 89 chaperones for?
I can't really ascertain the number of events, but the more candidates that you have available, then you have a greater pool to pull from. And we're trying to keep the ratio within a safe ratio of, I think we kind of talked about 20-1, making sure that we have the accurate number for proper supervision.
Okay, thank you for answering that. The only thing that I would ask is that the chaperones are rotated, so giving everybody an opportunity to chaperone, that, it's not always the same people, out of fairness. And then I think I had something else, sorry. Oh, go ahead. Let me can I just ask one more question? For the intramural sports, I know that we were told that the coaches advertise, but I want to make sure that the district's going to publish it on the website and that parents will be notified of this. And will this be sent home via Parent Square? The schedule, the signups.
Sure. Ms. Stevens has been working closely with her athletic director regarding intramurals, and she can provide an update for us.
So the schedules will be posted on the athletic website. They will go out on Parent Square. There will be flyers. We do just ask that the community keep in mind that the schedules could change based on things like weather, like availability of the fields or the gym.
Can we also have it on the announcement page when it first initiates? And then maybe that announcement direct them to the athletic page?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I am, okay, so on 54 through 57, the LOT nurses, I think in the backup, there's 2 nurses sharing 2 buildings and 2 nurses noted as district-wide. So I just wanted to clarify, was that correct or was that meant to be one nurse per building during LOT.
The assignments during LOT is one nurse per building with one substitute nurse.
Well, with this, I'm
It's in the
sorry, but
backup.
mine doesn't show.
It's on the. packet.
It's on the backup.
In the backup,
Yeah.
it had noted district-wide for 2, and it had noted 2 buildings for 2. So so maybe there's an updated version. I just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you. LOT, 64 through 66. We're adding more teachers.
64 through 66.
What happened? There was a need for more teachers?
64 through 66. Ms. Stevens can give you the update on the additional 1, 2, 3 LOT teachers.
So we did have a few people who were appointed last time indicate they were not able to do it. We did have openings for others and clubs that were of interest to students, and that's why they're being added.
The replacements, basically?
They could be replacements. It was based on the enrollment, the clubs that students were interested in. So the others just aren't being used for clubs at the moment. So the clubs were set up based on enrollment. So we didn't know which teachers we were going to need until we knew which clubs students were signing up for. So based on the enrollment, we know what we need. These 3 teachers can fill that need.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But while we're talking about LOT, can I just ask, was it different per building? How students were selected? Because there was some confusion there from the community members.
Sure, Ms. Stevens can clarify the differences.
So the application process was the same when the applications came in. The site coordinators reviewed them. It was based on, again, the level of interest in programs. So, based on our budget, we could run a limited number of programs. We chose the ones with the highest requests.
Okay, because it seemed like one building kids were getting 2 days a week and another building kids were getting all or nothing. So what?
So it would have been, the clubs offered would have been based on the number of students who were interested in those clubs. It's possible that students would have gotten a different number of clubs if they chose clubs that weren't running. So if you happen to choose clubs that were running 5 days a week, then you would have been assigned to clubs 5 days a week if they were running.
Okay, but
So
all
it
of this
wasn't
comes
based
through
on the
you and it's
student.
not different per building.
It is not different per building.
So as far as intramurals, I also was just surprised that we would get intramurals after LOT enrollment went out, because I'm concerned now that we need to keep our LOT enrollment up, and now we're going to offer a different opportunity for the students. So it would have been, it's seemingly, from my perspective, that we should have put it out at the same time so that the families knew of conflicts between interests.
We don't really expect there to be conflicts because of the use of the facilities. So Leaders of Tomorrow also uses some of the facilities. The athletic program uses the facilities. So the intramurals are typically run at different hours. We don't expect for there to be conflicts.
So you're saying it's after 5 o'clock intramurals?
So intramurals can run in the evenings after 5 o'clock or on weekends.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, I just have some comments on intramurals, and I am a very big fan of this program. So my questions are just to hopefully make sure that we utilize it properly. Just seconding that they be advertised and that there be schedules so families can plan accordingly. Is the attendance tracked for each thing? And then if there's like low enrollment for either like the middle school or the high school or the boys basketball and girls basketball, would they be combined if it was not if it was too low where the program standalone wouldn't work?
So the attendance is tracked. Mr. Farkas and the coaches monitor that. If it were appropriate, there might be an opportunity to combine programs, but it would depend on developmentally whether it
Yeah.
was appropriate and what skills they were working on.
Okay. Just want to make sure that no one loses interest just because no one else in their area was interested in it. And then one other thing I wanted to bring to attention, so we hopefully avoid an issue that we had a few weeks ago of too many appointments for one person. These coaches are, many of them are being appointed to more than one position. Previously, we have appointed someone to too many positions in the opinion of some people. So just hope that people keep that in mind when they place their vote now, so we're not going back later on to change anything.
Yeah, and most, when they're doing the intramurals for the sports, it typically does not conflict with the actual season when it's taking place. So when they're doing the intramural, let's say for football, it doesn't happen until football is over, and then they'll do it. Same thing, for soccer, whatever it may be, it's once that season is over.
I have like a big picture question. Is it possible, based on teachers' schedules, for all this planning to happen in the summer? Is that crazy? Well, just so many moving parts, like to Megan's point, we just got the LOT up and running, and now suddenly parents think they know what's going on. It's, oh, this is a nice new thing too. If all those moving parts are getting together and everything is presented to the parents at the start of the season, parents can make more educated choices. And then once this, I'm sorry, I keep saying season, school year. Once the school year is underway, they're more on autopilot. Not to say schedules can't change. There's always, got to be some baked in flexibility, but I just think that summer planning for the full school year is, it's worth the discipline it takes.
Point well taken.
Okay, any other questions on these items or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Leslie, did I get you? Oh, motion carries 7-0. All right. All right, can I do agenda items 3C1 through 3C5 altogether?
Sure.
Can I have a motion for agenda item 3C1 to 3C5, please?
Motion.
Winnie Canestro, Leslie Kretz, any comments or questions on any of these items?
Yeah. There's a disposal list, and the number isn't listed here for how many items are obsolete or have been expired, but I did count 958 Chromebooks. I mean, that's a big waste of money. I mean, my concern was maybe it's beneficial for the Chromebooks to remain on a carton in district property rather than going home, being that so many are either broken or, most of these are broken, and there's other things on here too, but that's a big number, and I don't want this to have to come back on the taxpayers. So is there something that we could do that kids don't have chargers or they're broken, and how can we make this more efficient and not have to trash 1,000 Chromebooks? And one last thing, moving forward, for transparency's sake, I would like to see a number on this. When there's large numbers like this, I think it should be broken out. I shouldn't have to go through all these pages and count them myself. That should come readily available to the board.
Dr. Talbot?
As it pertains to the disposal of fixed assets and particularly Chromebooks, after 3 years, the Chromebooks expire with Google, and some of them are returned for e-waste recycling. And our technology department does keep some of the Chromebooks, and they will utilize the screens for in-house repairs or keyboards or various parts. I know that Ms. Stevens has been working very closely with our network engineer, Mr. Iavino, regarding Chromebooks and the procedures following Chromebooks. And your point is well taken. These Chromebooks have been in the district for almost 3 years. And we are now sending them through the e-waste recycling process. Would you like to provide more insight around this?
I do think you've covered most of it. So Google stops supporting the Chromebooks after a certain period of time. The majority of the ones on the list are the ones that have expired. They have begun to cover for a longer period of time, so we're expecting that there will be fewer in the future. They have upped their licenses to, I believe, 10 years, he told us, but it did not grandfather the ones that we were already disposing of. He did also indicate that they had been working on a number of projects, and so these had been for several years. So it's not just a single year's worth of Chromebooks that we're disposing of.
But many of these are broken.
They are broken, yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So
I was gonna make a comment as well. Just a quick question. So the Chromebooks that are listed here, those numbers reflect not just 1 year, but several years of Chromebook? That is my question. So it's 3 years of Chromebooks that have either no longer being supported by Google or they've been damaged in some type of way. So the second question I have is that if a child has a Chromebook and then the Chromebook is damaged or lost, do we replace that Chromebook? What happens if it's the same kid that keeps losing or damaging a Chromebook?
So we do have an acceptable use policy for repeat offenders. We do have an insurance policy. So there's an evaluation done on what the damage is. If it is repairable, it is sent out as part of our insurance policy for it to be repaired. The same Chromebook is returned to its user. If it is damaged and it's determined that it was intentional damage and that it violates the acceptable use policy, then the student needs to pay for the replacement Chromebook.
Megan, you have a question?
Thank you for the clarification. I had asked a question about the Chromebooks by email, a number of questions about the Chromebooks, because I was hearing that students were throwing Chromebooks across the room. They were showing up without their chargers. They were conveniently forgetting their Chromebook. And then on top of it, teachers were limited to how much paper they received. So it seemed like there was an implementation problem with how we were facilitating the use of the Chromebooks in the middle school and the high school. So I was posing these questions, and then and then in this agenda, we got this disposal of fixed assets of so many Chromebooks. So it's helpful to clarify that it's multiple years worth of Chromebooks, but it does seem like there is an issue with the treatment of the Chromebooks, whether or not there's an agreement signed, that maybe we can consider further, the district consider further how to go forward to make sure that this component of this tool, this educational tool, is available to all, and the district is not replacing continually and spending money continually on this tool.
I just have one more question that with the Chromebooks, what if a Chromebook is broken and the parent couldn't afford the insurance policy, or they can't, not that it was an intentional, but
The parents don't pay for the insurance policy.
You
we
pay
hold the
for it?
insurance. Yes.
So if it's not intentional, then it's covered by insurance, and the child gets a replacement right away. How long does it take for the child to get a
So
replacement?
they get a loaner that they can use while it is out. They're collected in the school libraries. The tech team will come and pick them up, send them out, and then it takes about a week for them to return them, but they do have a loaner in the meantime.
So they have a loaner, so the child's not without a Chromebook.
Correct.
Okay.
There was two things too, Dr. Talbert, we spoke about this one-on-one, like there was needing to understand how much homework was really being done on the Chromebook, for the need for it to go home every single day. And then also software that maybe the district had that do we have a way to figure out if that software is even being utilized?
Yes, so in our research regarding the use of digital software, last year, we had a digital software committee, and they researched and proposed several digital softwares to be approved by the Curriculum Council, and they were approved and they are in use across all schools. The middle and high school utilize more of the independent digital software for independent practice, for homework. And if you have further details, Ms. Stevens, you can feel free to chime in.
I think you have covered it. There is also a procedure for teachers to indicate that they're interested in a particular software. It then goes through a vetting process. So if it aligns with their curriculum and it's approved and compliant, then we would look at what the cost of that was and see if it was a possibility to purchase it.
And just, and Megan, I cannot speak for every teacher in the high school, but for some of the teachers that I've been affiliated with, the Chromebook is being used, and all the information goes through the Chromebook, and the assignments and everything is posted there. So once again, that's just a handful, but I can't speak for everyone in high school.
I have two questions. Are all these that are being disposed compiled from all those 3 years, or have we disposed some over the past few years? I know you weren't here.
I wouldn't
so
have the
that-
accurate
yeah.
response, but from the conversation with the tech department, they have been working on this list for a while.
Okay.
So it is 3 years comprehensive.
And then my other question is, are there any programs available similar to like how phone companies have the buyback program? You trade in a phone and you get whatever amount off.
So we did talk about that as well, Ms. Stevens.
To comply with our privacy and Ed Law 2D, we would have to remove the hard drive from anything that we were returning. The cost of doing that would end up offsetting the profit that we would get. So we do use a certified vendor to upcycle, and they're able to do it, but there's not a way to recoup any of the funding for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3D1, please?
Motion?
Second.
Caroline Fanning, Chris Nearing. Any comments or questions regarding 3D1?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Go ahead.
So for the benefit of the audience, every month the board gets a packet of treasurer's reports, and they include basic things like bank statements, checks that the district paid, and a signed claim from the claims auditor saying that everything that the district paid out was valid. On the table of contents, top of the list of what's supposed to be included is an expenditure report and a revenue report. And these would, show basically a budget to actual, what our expenses are, what the budget was, are we over budget, under budget? Since I've been on the board in July, we have not received those for July, August, and September, because there's always a notation that these will be provided after the audit, or after the audit presentation, which is coming up in November. So my question is, why do we have to wait for the audit for last year's books to see monthly expenditure and revenue reports for this year?
Ms. Buati, can you respond to that, please?
Yes, when the auditors come to review our books, especially when you cross over fiscal year, they have to look at subsequent events. So sometimes we get receipts in July, and they tell us to classify it for the prior year. Or there's an expense. They look at this with a fine tooth comb to see whether an expense belonged to which year. So because of that, even though we may in the business office pay from the 24-25 school year, they will reclassify. So because of the reclassification, sometimes the appropriation status report is not the same because they have to be backing things in and out. That's why it is always better to wait for the final audit, to wait for the independent audit, which cuts it down to the exact number before we begin the subsequent year. And that's why we always say, wait for the independent audit. Then both the independent audit and our books reconcile before we move forward.
So I understand that. But even as you get, let's say, as late as September, so now 2 months into the new fiscal year, are you still paying off items from the previous year?
Sometimes they are late. Sometimes vendors are late.
Just come to the mic a little bit
I'm
more.
sorry. Sometimes vendors are late in invoicing us.
Mm.
We do get invoices that late. And we always have to call them up and say, we got another invoice. A good example is foster tuition. Some school district wait till the last minute to bill us. We have to call them up, and then they would say, you got to classify it because it belongs to the prior year. You've got to classify it into the 23-24 school year. So there's the whole lot of adjusting entries going on before the final books are finalized.
Isn't that something, though, that you would do on your own anyway for your own benefit, and then the auditor just comes along and checks it? Like, you would know if you get a bill in July for services rendered in May, you could change that. My concern is that we're now at the end of October. The first quarter is over, and we have not yet seen a budget to actual. And we've been saying since we got elected and in conversation and recently in writing, we want to see a budget to actual. I was so, alarmed that we haven't seen one yet past the first quarter, that I referred back to the forensic review that happened in the spring. And it said, you're supposed to see, what was the exact wording of it? The appropriation status report is provided to the Board of Education each month as part of the Treasurer's report. This report can be used to assist in their oversight responsibilities throughout the year. So what you're telling me now is that because of overlap, 4 months out of the year, we don't get that.
We just want to give you accurate report, because if you want to compare it from month to month, if I give you a report and then the next month you look at it and the numbers don't reconcile, it doesn't, to me, it's very difficult for you to continue to look at the same, because the numbers will be different. Because what we enter into our accounting system is building up on an ongoing basis. So if I print a report for you today and tomorrow I print the same report and it's different, it will be very confusing. That's why it's always good that we wait until the final audit is done. Then it's easier for you.
Excuse me, can we
yes.
interject?
Sure.
So,
You want to interject?
yes.
Absolutely.
I definitely understand what you're saying, Ms. Bawatsi, and I know for me, the biggest challenge is that we always used to get them previously. So for me, even not getting them has been something that's been hard for me. So I understand what you're saying, but for all the years of being on the board, we always used to get them in July and in August and stuff, so.
I would
I would-
add that
So I would think-
it's
I think-
mandated.
I think
Well,
that we.
well, we're supposed to have it to do our due diligence. Also, if there's pending invoices, they would be encumbered. So here's the thing, we're in a financial, we're in this financial crisis. All these things happen. We're obligated to look at these things every month, so this doesn't happen again. It's not being provided to us. We need to see budget to actuals. We need to see real-time budgeting, so we can see if something comes up or that we can question. Without that, we're not provided the tools to do this right now. It's problematic, and we've asked for it, and we need to have it. It's not a want, it is a need.
Okay.
So we
I would communicate it to the district treasurer, and he will give you the report on an ongoing basis. But I just want to caution that it is possible that there will be some reclassification after the audit, and the numbers may not look the same. I just wanted to
It would be a
clarify. that.
draft,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah, okay, that's
A
fine,
draft
that's
is
fine.
better than
That's fine.
nothing.
Right.
That's fine,
Having information that is likely to change is better than having no information.
that's fine. We'll provide the report.
And do we not have deadlines for when invoices need to be submitted to us?
They don't.
No, in fact, this is an issue with some school district. Yes, every school district is supposed to submit their invoices to us on time, but sometimes
What is classified as on time?
they are supposed to send it to you before the end of the school year. But what happens with
Which
them is
school year?
June 30th.
June 30th.
Of the
not
year that
fiscal
it
year.
happens, not
Yes.
the following year
Yes,
or the year
but-
after.
Let me go back to the example with the foster child tuition again. Usually, they have to make sure that the kid attended their school and they have the attendance data before they can bill us. So the expectation is that they will do it immediately after the end of the fiscal year, but sometimes they are not able to give you that information. So you don't get that report, you don't get those invoices until August.
So are we relying on other schools to just do their work on time? And is there anything preventing a school from finding something from 2 years ago and saying, oh, this kid was here in 2022, can you pay me for it?
Unfortunately, there are some situations like that, especially when it comes to displaced students. We do get invoices like that, but this is the danger. If you challenge it and you have to reciprocate, they will also tell you, we will not pay your bill, and it will become a legal issue. So those are, you have to look at it critically before you deny or continue to pay the bills. We get issues like that where with displaced students, sometimes we don't get the information
Okay.
from the other
Well,
schools.
I don't think I understand. What's the issue if they give us a bill from 2 years ago and we decide to not pay it? What's the ramifications for us?
They have to-
Well, it will become a legal issue and you have to fight it in court.
Well, that-
All right, so
that's,
can we-
that's possibly, that's not
And-
entirely true. If there's no claim and no notice, that doesn't mean that we have to fight it in court if they
Yes.
didn't provide proof of something. Okay, I want to interject something too. A budget to actual does change every month. That would seem appropriate. There's a lot of moving parts and things have moved, and I know that we didn't budget properly for the charter schools and an expenditure was carried over like $255,000 into this new budget. So my thing is that we need a line by line budget to actual every month. So this Board of Education can understand and follow in real time when something happens, we can refer to it and say, okay, show us the line where this came from. Like, for instance, I have no idea where you came up with $255,000 to pay for that charter school. What line did that come out of? We don't have it every month. We are in such a crisis that we are trying to do our jobs and we can't do it without this information. We're elected by the people to represent them. They have faith in us that we can do it. We're their voices. So you're gonna have to give us this information and trust that we'll ask the questions if we have questions and that we're gonna review it. Just to say you may not understand it, I don't think that that's good enough. As far as the budget to actual, is it the treasurer that is giving us the budget to actual every month? I would like this every single month, or is it the business official?
All right,
It
so
is-
can I just interrupt for 1 second? So, I think we all are in a consensus right now that we want that information in terms of the expenditure report, the revenue report, and yes, I think we're all in a consensus as a board that we want this information. I think
Yes,
we
are,
all
and
have
we should
agreed.
follow the state mandate. It mandates the format. So
Right.
just refer to what the rule is.
Right, so we're all in agreement, this is what we want, we want the line by line, so therefore we have everything that, so we have everything reviewed.
Yeah, I would like to know who is responsible for that. Is it the treasurer or is it the business official?
The treasurer prints, gives me the report and I review it. So I'm directly responsible.
Okay, thank you. I do have a couple more questions about the treasurer's report. So the community could follow. We also get in the report, extra classroom activity report, and it lists all the extra classroom activities. And first of all, why is the treasurer's report 2 months behind in August? It says as of August 31st. Why wouldn't we have September?
Because the bank statements are not issued until the subsequent month. You need the bank statement to do the reconciliation. And it doesn't come in. The September bank statement, you don't receive till the middle of August. So he needs all the bank statement with all the checks that clear to do the bank reconciliation.
So we didn't get for September, it's October 23rd, and we didn't get bank statements yet?
He's working on the September now, and it will come to the board the subsequent.
So it's always 2 months behind?
Yes.
Okay. So as far as this extra classroom activity, so each year there's money raised and so forth. There are on every single extra classroom activity, except for 2, there's balances in here as of July 31st. If money's being raised, why isn't it being used in the year in which it's raised? Because people contribute for that particular school year, for those particular students. So what is going on with this? Why are there all these balances?
It all depends on the club.
Well, it's almost every single one of them.
Yes, it all depends on the club and what they decide to do with their funds. The business official is really not involved. This is extra classroom activity is really to teach kids business. And they are supposed to come up with what they want to use the monies for. So this is something that we have to go back to the club advisors, work with them to advise them, to work with the students to come up with ways to spend the money that they raise.
Wait, but
So
that
can I
doesn't make a
just-
lot of sense to me. This says drama club is $8,735.53. Oh, like, why aren't we using that for the production? Or is this after? I'm just having a hard time going
Is that generated from?
from that year to follow. Okay,
Because they sell tickets to each event.
Right.
but some of these are in fall, like there's fall sports in here, fall clubs with a balance. So why wasn't it spent in the same year? I guess I'm asking. I guess,
So,
I'm
so
sure there's a
Wendy,
policy.
yeah, no, so
Is there
Wendy, I
policy?
will tell you that I know when Alan Yu has done his report to us in the past, that was one thing that he did speak about was the class funds and the fact that there was a large balance in some of the funds. So it's not something that's not new. The question is, how do we make sure, or how do they?
Right, so if it was identified, we identified the problem, we gotta fix the problem.
Correct. I'm just
So,
saying
you
it's
know,
going-
right, I appreciate that, Lisa, thank you. And $25,000 in postage? Why is there $25,000 in postage?
We had a large mailing that went out at the end of the school year. And actually, we had to go and buy stamps to get it done. We had a large,
Don't we have a postage
Calendar?
machine?
we do have a postage machine, but we have to feed it. We have to buy the postage. We go to the post office and pay for the postage and feed it into the machine to run the postage in-house.
Any other questions or comments on this area?
I think that was probably attributed to the calendar then?
Yes.
Is that the large?
Large mailing, yes.
Wasn't that in the syntax?
No. Syntax,
they
we paid
print it?
syntax separately.
They print it and then
And
we
then
mail.
we mail it.
Any other comment on this area? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3E1 through 3E5, please?
Second.
Leslie Kretz, Winnie Canestro. Any questions, comments? Legal, you have reviewed?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3F1, please?
Motion.
Second.
Winnie Canestro, Megan Messman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3F2, please?
So moved.
Carol Seehoff,
Second.
Megan Messman, second. Any? All those in favor, any questions or
I
comments?
had a question, but I'm trying to find the contract.
I have a
someone
few
has it
questions on
In
this.
front of you, it was item number 15. I didn't understand what that meant. Yeah, I'm sorry, could you read that out loud so people know what I'm talking about? Because I can't find it.
So in the MOU for the NCWB number 15, the program will provide mentee attendance to the district at a rate determined appropriate by the district. And so the program will take place one day out of the week after school. And the organization will provide the attendance to the high school administration on a weekly basis to let them know which girls attended the program.
Okay, so rate doesn't mean a cost, that maybe that's, was the confusion too?
It doesn't
It's
mean.
No, at a rate, yeah, at
That's
a,
that's the frequency.
yes, yes. So it'll be on a weekly basis.
I have a couple of questions on this. My concern is that it's limited to 15 students. I was happy to hear that it's all races. It's, I think students can benefit from mentors, and I would hope that, hate to see just 15 kids. I wish all kids had access to this, boys and girls. But I do have a few questions on this. The criteria to pick students, I mean, there has to be a more specific way that they're selected. What is the specific way that they're selected?
So the specific way that they are selected is through the building administration and their conversations with their faculty and staff who are recommending young ladies for the program. They are having intake meetings and talking with them about their strengths, their weaknesses, academically and socially. It's a heterogeneous program so that the girls can feed off of the strengths of one another. And we spent a lot of time with the organization and the high school talking about this because we did not want only those young ladies who were having challenges. They wanted young ladies who were also succeeding in certain areas so that the peer influence would also impact the group at large.
Okay.
So just for clarification, is there an application that's involved with this? Does the student have to fill out an application?
To my knowledge, I don't think there is an application. There's not one that the organization has put in place, nor the high school.
So it's literally just the administrators picking these children?
They're having intake meetings and conversations with teachers, faculty, and staff members in their building.
Okay, it also states that there has to be a district liaison. How will the liaison be chosen at the high school? And is there a stipend involved in that?
There is no stipend involved for the volunteer liaison. The high school administration is working with, I believe, 2 staff members in the building who will be receiving the young ladies into the classroom and making sure they're turned over to the ladies of the organization and being a liaison and a support to the program.
Okay, so our liaison is going to be a certified teacher?
Yes.
And there's
Okay.
gonna be two of them, or are we picking one of them?
It's two volunteers and both may not be on site simultaneously, but they will rotate as needed to
Um,
represent the school.
Okay, in reading the contract, it states that the organization will do the fingerprinting and background check, but we have to do our due diligence too, and that has to be run to state ed. So is there a cost that we're incurring to do this?
There's no cost to the district. The organization has funded the $100 per volunteer. They have been fingerprinted and vetted through the HR office and they're on file.
Okay, so we are doing that on our end. Okay. Hold on one second. I just have a couple of other questions. Oh, first of all, there were 17 pages of the president's auto information in here. Are these children going in cars or something? Say 17 pages.
No, I think that was just included in error.
Okay. I have questions about insurance. Sorry, guys, this is what I do for a living, so I have to like drill down on this a little bit. As far as the DNO coverage expires on December 28th, so we probably need an updated certificate then. Why isn't the district listed as an additional insured? And the NIC number is missing for the DNO. We need that also, and we need to be listed as an additional insured.
I believe the organization did have the district added as additional insured.
Right.
It's not here.
Yeah, can we get an updated one and have, and send that to the school district? The other thing is professional liability with sexual abuse and molestation coverage. I don't see that it's listed on here. Does the organization have that? You know, we're having our mentors come into our students. I'm not suggesting anything's going on. What I'm suggesting is that we need to be properly, you know, covered.
I don't believe that that has been required under SAVE legislation in the past.
Does our school district have that coverage with professional liability, and does it cover third parties?
It does cover any volunteer that comes on the district property is covered by our insurance.
It covers third parties, though. This is a organization though, so we're in a contract with an organization. Does it cover third parties, not volunteers, third parties?
I have to double check, but to the best of my knowledge, it does cover that.
Okay, because we need to make sure of that. Is there any effort as far as mentoring programs for the boys in the district at the high school?
We are continuing to reach out to organizations. So if you have one in mind, if anyone in the community has a reputable organization who would like to meet with us, here's an open appeal. We are looking to support our student scholars on every level.
Didn't we have My Brother's Keeper?
We had a grant, My Brother's Keeper, but it was not the one for mentoring of young men.
It would be great if the board could be up to date on who the students or the chosen students and the liaison. And when will this selection happen and when will this begin? And how long does it go on till?
The high school has identified the students already. The plan with your approval tonight would be to begin on November 14th. I did just want to clarify, it's every other week, not weekly, every other week.
Thank you.
So starting November 14th with
And
approval.
it's happening on district premises here?
Correct,
Okay.
at the high school.
And our liaison stays throughout the length of each session?
So the liaisons will be helping, but the district, the building leaders will also be working in that capacity.
Okay, so we have somebody in the district
Yes.
overseeing the mentoring program at all times with the students?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Why did we not have to appoint the volunteers? Like we appoint every other?
Yeah, why aren't we appoint, if it's a liaison, a district liaison for this, why isn't it on the agenda?
We can certainly bring them before. We have a number of teachers or staff who volunteer to assist with different organizations throughout, or opportunities rather throughout. But if that's the pleasure of the board, we can bring volunteers to be approved.
And the teachers are just volunteering to do this with no stipend?
Yes.
That's pretty nice of them.
All right, any other questions?
Are we asking to approve this even if there's all these comments on the insurance?
Yeah, can we just, we were meeting on the 29th. Maybe we could get the updated insurance information on this. I mean, and then
Can we say approval pending? the up-
subject to,
Yeah.
hold on a second, John has. One moment, that council's just reviewing it for a second.
So do you want to review it a little bit more, John, and then,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, so we'll
just table it.
yeah, can I have a motion to rescind the motion agenda item 3F2, please?
Motion.
Second.
So that is Wendy Canestro, Megan Messman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seven zero. I just, where did you go? All right, so we have old business and new business. Is there any? Yeah. We have old business and new business. Can I just can I make a recommendation to make sure that we do allow some time for community input? If we can keep our old business and new business to maybe 20 to 30 minutes, therefore our community input would we also have their 30 minutes? Because if we're giving the community input 30 minutes, then if we can minimize our old business and new business, that would be, I'm just making a suggestion.
I think in theory, that's great, because I think that nobody wants to be here late. You know, I don't think any of us do. A lot of us work, but this is a business meeting of the Board of Education, so we have to get through the meeting. Certainly, we'll try to get through it fast, but we're here to do business, and we only had one meeting this month, so.
Yes.
And then I do understand, I'm just making a suggestion, I'm
I
just
understand.
asking, I'm just asking if we can keep it, if we're asking the community to keep it to 30 minutes, I'm just asking for us as a board to keep our old business and new business to 30 minutes. That was all I'm requesting.
And that also is the request of the community to keep it shorter. I just.
Okay,
wanted
this
to
is the
add
business
that.
meeting of the Board of
And
Education.
perhaps we need to go back to 2 meetings a month because this is a request from the community. Thank you. I believe that is something that the Board of Education will discuss.
Right, so let's go ahead with the old business and new business. Does anyone have any comments? Any board members' comments for old business?
Yes. Old business, related to the EPC. We project that we're going to get this, rebate, one-time rebate. And there was a question to understand where will those funds go? So that we can understand whether or not we will be able to immediately utilize that fund. So do you have the answer to that at this time, or? Oh, I'm sorry.
If the rebates come in as a check directly to the district, we have to classify it as a miscellaneous revenue. It has to go into the revenue side of the budget and not to offset any expense.
Okay, so then we can, as a board, we can decide how to utilize that then?
Once the budget is in place, it cannot be determined at that point. It goes in as part of district revenue in the 24-25 school year.
We can't say how to allocate it?
It will go into fund balance, and the board can decide on what to do with the fund balance.
Okay, understood.
Okay, so I would be, and this is something else that the board is aware of. I wrote it in an email. I'd be interested to utilize those funds to bring back field trips, whether or not it's one field trip per grade. I think previously it was 2 field trips per grade. And we could even talk as a board to talk about having parents supplement the cost of the field trips, but we do expect an influx in funding. So,
You just clarify when you say influx in funding.
well, it's just a one-time incentive that's not assigned to anything.
Yeah, but if it goes into fund balance, we have to wait till the end of the year and then reallocate it in fund balance. We can appropriate it. Once the budget has been voted on, you can go back and reappropriate it.
We can follow up on that as well and then provide the board with a written update.
Okay. Regarding the 4410 application, we're associated with Northeast. And Dr. Talbert, is there an update that you could provide?
Mr. Frazier has been working very closely with the building principal as well as Ms. Bawati. Can you give us an update as to where we are with the status of 4410?
Sure. I've been in touch with, with Dr. Collins and also our psychologist. And the latest is that they have completed their section of the 4410 application, and they're just waiting for the financial narrative from our office to complete that application submitted. There's 45 days after the initial approval was given by the state to submit the application. So we're looking at mid-November. By mid-November, the application should be submitted for state review.
Any other questions on the old business?
We've been going back and forth on when to do the superintendent goals. Should we use this time to talk about where and whether or not we need to involve NISBA?
So yes, there's been several emails that I have sent to the board, and the question that I posed to the Board of Education is that if we wanted a NISBA representative just to zoom into a meeting, just to explain what the role and responsibilities would be of NISBA, if we were going to do a retreat where we did district goals, if we did and also did superintendent evaluation connected to that. So she was just going to zoom in, so therefore, as a board, everyone would understand what that would look like. I saw her at the NISBA conference this weekend, and she said that if she did it, it only would be roughly about maybe 15 minutes in a conversation to the board, just so she could explain what that would entail. Also, while attending there, I also did attend a session on goal setting, so I can get the PowerPoint to share with the Board of Education. The PowerPoint is just basic. There was a lot of conversation that occurred. So I believe it will be beneficial. And she did say that she is available on October the 29th if we want, just to zoom in an open session for about 15 minutes. I put it out that way because everyone said that the 23rd, which was tonight, was not going to be good. So I just have to get back to her if the board would like for her just to zoom in an open session, 15 minutes the top, she said, to provide information
right.
about it.
So if I could just speak to that. Yeah, we said we didn't want it in executive session because we keep running over an executive session. There's too much going on in there.
No,
What?
it would not be an executive.
No, I know, but you were saying that you asked and we said no, but that's one of the reasons.
No, what I said was that.
The 15 minutes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
what I said in the emails, that what was happening every time I sent an email and when I got a response back, people kept responding that we're going to be setting goals. And I kept saying, we're
I
not
see what
setting
you're saying.
goals.
For her to explain.
We're just going to explain. And then someone would say, we're
I
going to be setting
understand.
goals. And I'm like, no, we're not setting goals. We're going to explain. So
But if you want to use NISBA, isn't there a cost to the retreat?
there would be, and we can find that out. I can find all that information out. So.
Well, I will, the 15 minutes are free though.
No, yeah, that's free.
15 minutes are free. NISBA retreat is money. So I think it would be beneficial to share the slide that you had. Thank you for offering that. Also, at one point, a video was shared with us about
I sent-
superintendent goals. Did you send, I'm not
I
sure who
sent it.
sent it. It
I
was
sent it.
excellent.
I sent
And
it.
perhaps if everybody just committed to watching that and looking at the slide, we wouldn't need to spend money on this and we could work on it ourselves. The mission and goals go together, the district goals, the mission and everything like that. Are you done?
So
Yes, so I just want to make it clear. So once again, I did provide the video to the board.
Yeah, it was
review.
excellent.
I can get the PowerPoint as well. I just need to know. I think it will be beneficial, especially for new members, just to hear what she has to say about the process in terms of district goals. And then from that point, we can make that decision as a Board of Education, if we want to do it on our own, or if we want to have someone come in, depending what the cost is.
Here's my concern with that. We keep adding things to meetings and it's never 15 minutes. Just it turns into 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and we run out of time.
Okay, so, but you're just looking for like board consensus to whether or not to listen to
Yeah,
for
just,
15
yeah,
minutes?
that's
And
what I've
then
been waiting for. I've been waiting for.
I
a
guess
board-
I'm concerned that we're not gonna set the goals before the middle of the year, and we have supposed to do a mid-year review of the superintendent, so I think that if the board
So that-
wants to do it, then we should definitely do 1029, and then we have to then establish a meeting to set goals in public,
Mhm.
right?
The-
That's the next
they'll-
step?
They'll talk about the whole process.
Okay.
So is the board okay with me contacting her back to say she can zoom in on 1029?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can you reiterate everything that's going on in 1029 at this point?
Well,
Oh,
could-
okay.
Right now, it's just,
Sorry.
right now, it's just ATA negotiations that we're doing on
There
that-
wasn't a
in-
third
in the district clerk, if we don't go back in tonight. All right, anyone else, old business?
are you done?
At one point in time, we asked if we were still paying for the ruler program. And in the treasurer's report, it doesn't look like we're still paying for the ruler program. Is that correct?
Ms. Guati, I don't believe there's any additional reoccurring cost.
Haven't seen anything unless it's paid through BOCES.
Okay, so I guess I would like to understand what our next steps are, because I think like we're getting the violent reports per building now on a weekly basis. And it appears that we have a problem and we need to address social emotional program and maybe be looking to alternatives and piloting a new program as soon as possible.
I think they heard you.
Well, I think what we have to do as a board is if we are in consensus, give direction to the superintendent to perhaps look into alternatives for that.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just speaking to some teachers, they don't use this. So I just think that there is a need, as Megan said, so perhaps Dr. Talbot can look into alternatives and report back to the board.
Is that the consensus of the board that they want Dr. Talbot to do that? Because my other question is this, is that I definitely understand the concern about the safety within our schools. What we don't know is what's been taking place already, what's been implemented. So if we're looking to get feedback in terms of.
Well, we know that we have ruler.
No, but what I'm asking, what I'm saying, if there's anything else that may be at the building level that they're doing that may be different that we may not be aware of. So if that's something that we're asking just to get a follow-up, go ahead, Dr.
Maybe we should get feedback from the teachers.
That's what I'm.
And get a survey out to them, because if Wendy's
can
saying
ask
there's
them.
some teachers that don't use it, some teachers do use it, so we need to definitely ask
So-
the teachers per se.
And the
first
survey
before we
shared with the
decide.
board.
So I think
Yeah.
what we, if this is what we want to happen, what we would do, we would have to ask Dr. Talbot if she can reach out to the building administrators, who would then communicate with the teachers. And that's how we get that particular information, unless there's something else that you want to add to that, Dr. Talbot.
No, I think the recommendation is certainly impactful. We have one of our major initiatives around culture and climate in our school buildings, and there are a number of incentive programs that the building administrations are running. And so we have had some preliminary discussions about the effectiveness and the impact of ruler. And I think a survey would be a good way to bring closure, to get some hard data based upon those conversations we have been having.
And when we survey them, can we ask if they have any suggestions on programs that they may have heard other districts are using?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or
Um,
comments on the old business?
Yeah, but as far as the surveys, I know that we had, that was, the,
Hold on one second. So Megan was asking me, is the board all in agreement for this information? That's all she's just asking me.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank
But
you.
as it pertains to surveys, I know when each building went through that they were going to do these surveys, a lot of them were with families, some of them were with staff. I think it had been previously mentioned by a board member, like this information needs to be shared with the board so we can keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening to understand the needs and desires of the students, the staff, and the families. Can those be sent to us or compiled and shared with us? I thought it was going to be, but I haven't seen anything.
We are currently planning a survey to be administered in early November.
Oh, November.
To our knowledge, there have not been any surveys.
Oh, so you're doing it in November?
Yeah.
Okay, so after November, can that information be
Yes.
compiled and shared? Okay.
Of course.
I did, just, Mr. Playa did do one in Park Avenue, but
As far as old business, board evaluation, if we could get that on the calendar. Board evaluation to do that. That's something we should be doing. I know we spoke about it, but we don't have it on the calendar. As far as job postings, I think we spoke about this before. The salaries aren't on the job postings. I think that that is beneficial. Other districts do that. And I know that we've had some challenges and, even finding like a bilingual teacher, that the one thing that we didn't do is go to print, go to Newsday, go to like the local heralds. I know other districts do that. If we're trying to recruit staff and especially if we're having problems, I think that's the next step that has to happen.
If I recall correctly, I think when we had the conversation before, that my understanding, and someone can please correct me, is that most of the time the teachers, when they're looking for positions, they're going through OLAS. And they typically don't utilize Newsday or the New York Times. And so.
I
but-
didn't say the New York Times.
No, no, I'm just,
Okay.
no, I'm just making a statement. And with, I know that the Herald is now the new version of the Amityville Record.
Well, the Herald's all across Long Island. I'm just saying that we're definitely have challenges. I think sharing the salaries is pretty important. I know when going for a job, right, that's one of the first things you do, you know, does this job appeal to you or not? So we might not be getting people because of that. So I think it's beneficial to do that. Okay, as far as, we discussed this last time, forming a committee for Northeast with all stakeholders to see any educational impact that there might be, you know, in reviewing what we're going to do or not. The state does recommend that. Is that something that we can form? And then this committee, which is all stakeholders, it's community members, business members, families, parents, seniors, business owners, staff, teachers. Is that something that we can get together? Because I think that would be beneficial for this group of people to work together to evaluate this and report back to the board. New York State does recommend this. It's not a requirement, it's a recommendation.
So is it the consensus of the Board of Education to develop a committee in regards to looking at Northeast?
Yes.
yes.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I have things for new business.
So once again, it's,
Can I just speak, one quick thing, about the status, and I'll be good, John, I promise, about ATA negotiations and all the negotiations. I understand that people are frustrated that we haven't reached a settlement yet, and there's a distinct pressure to get it done. But I think we've demonstrated that without, accurate financial reports and data, we could make really bad decisions. So we are very committed to getting it done, but only with all the information that we need. And it might add some time to the process, but if we make a bad decision, this is the most important decision we're gonna make finance-wise over the next few years. There's no money for capital projects, so that's not gonna happen. But we have to get this one right, and we should make sure that we are fully informed about whatever it is that we decide and not rush to the judgment.
I just want to second that sentiment. I mean, we've seen the negative effects that can happen when the finances are not fully in line, and people's jobs were greatly affected by it.
I agree. However, we have acquired a lot of information, and I really believe at this point we are ready to move forward, and we need to move forward.
I think the board was willing to meet a few times during the month of October, but we had some issues, because there was some PTO time taken, so we couldn't meet sooner. So that's why on October 29th, we'll be meeting.
That's not completely accurate, but we're gonna move along. Ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned before, and I heard that it's important for us to share with the community, but I'm just asking if we're asking the community to keep their comments to 30 minutes, if we can just keep our comments to 30 minutes as well. So I'm just respectfully asking, and just keep moving along, please.
Okay, can I go on to new business?
Yes.
Oh, do you
Mine will
wanna
be
go ahead?
quick, because
Sure.
I already spoke about this earlier, just at the wrong time. Just when we are proposing to vote.
So
Sorry.
hold on one second. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you because Dr. Talbot was just asking me about the salary and putting it on job postings. And what is the concern, or what was the question?
I'm just seeking feedback from the board regarding that, but also articulating the challenge with that, because it's commensurate with your experience. Teachers are hired on steps, and so we could not put the salary on particular postings because it's based on the number of years' experience, your master's degree, your
But maybe not that,
30.
maybe like
Hold on a second.
security or monitors. Can we share that information?
But hold on a second. Let Dr. Talbot finish what she's saying first, and then people can speak in.
Yeah. So we would have to look and see where there are flat rates that could be added to postings, and I think that would be appropriate. Where we can do it, I think we should.
Yeah, where you can.
Yes, thank you.
Is that a consensus of the board of where they can, if they can do a flat rate, do they want the salary? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Just so otherwise there would be a range. If there's not a specific rate, then there would be a range.
Chris, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm just reiterating what I spoke about earlier about because it's technically new business, having the head count for the positions this year compared to last year, and if there's still vacancies in that role, whether that's an actual position or if it's a stipend position, just so the board is aware of what else is needed.
He's just saying
Like for any of the positions, like if it's actually employing someone or,
Consensus. Do we need consensus
I don't
now?
know.
We got
Yes,
that.
that way.
okay, that's what I meant.
Okay. Right, do we have consensus?
Is everyone okay asking for certain positions, like hypothetically, if it was the chaperones, if last year we hired
Yes.
90 chaperones, then this year we're hiring 50.
Yes, yes.
So anything else
Yeah,
for new business?
For new business, I just want to say this again, because I know we're being rushed along. You know, this is what deliberation looks like, that the community is entitled to and voters are entitled to. So while it may be frustrating that meetings are longer, this is what's supposed to happen at a board meeting, and this is where we're supposed to ask our questions. If we're asking questions behind the scenes or in emails, you don't get to see the deliberation or know the conversation or be informed. So while it may be long, which again, I don't think anybody wants to be here long, it is necessary, and it's part of our due diligence. Okay, a few things for new business. Our district is dependent on almost about 60% state aid. There was a September 3rd deadline to submit state aid claims for accurate projections for the 25-26 school year. We missed that deadline. So, I mean, we have two financial people here, and we missed the deadline. I'm not sure how we missed the deadline. I think that it was submitted October 18th, if that's correct, Dr. Talbert, is that correct? October 18th? Okay, but the audit did identify that we need to meet deadlines, and we missed another deadline, which is an important deadline because a majority of our budget is dependent on that state aid. So I just wanted the community to understand that. As far as charter schools, charter school enrollment went up. It started in 21-22 at 35, 22-23 at 48, in 23-24 54, and this 24-25 71. So we didn't, I think we only budgeted for 3 new students, but there was, I think 17 new students. So we had to carry over that expenditure into the new budget. So I do want to know what line item is that coming out of to pay that? It was about $256,000. And wouldn't it have been more prudent to try and balance the budget last year than to carry over this expenditure?
The budget had to be balanced. Even if we put it in, because we had reached the max with the tax levy, there was no revenue to support it. So that's the max that we could possibly go to.
Okay. But we did know that number though, last year when we were budgeting, but we under budgeted. Because that was one of the things in the audit finding too, is that we're not budgeting properly. And I feel like that's a key point. The transportation requests are in by April 1st, so we would have had an idea, right?
Not necessarily, because
Maybe not all, but a lot.
Yes, the charter school parents don't have a deadline to register their kids in a charter school. They can do it anytime. So
I understand, but we did know the number was higher. Okay, as far as syntax, we're on the top tier of syntax. I think we pay, I don't know, $92,000 or something. But syntax is not taking athletic photos. We're in a contract with them. We have a volunteer doing it now, which is nice enough of the volunteer, but there are concerns for liability issues because we don't have a contract with them. They're not vetted. There are parents that sign consent forms of who can be photographed and who can't. If we're paying syntax $92,000, it is prudent for the district to use who we are contracted with because it opens ourselves up. I wanted to raise that concern because most districts will have the syntax do that. Dr. Talbot?
We are in top tier with syntax, with approximately a 60% reimbursement through BOCES. So we pay less than $45,000 for their services. The photographing and attendance at athletic events are not included in that package. They have a set number of commitments to the district per month. And athletic events, they do attend large events like homecoming and some of the special occasions. But every game they do not attend and they do not take pictures of athletes in motion.
Okay, then I would suggest that we have the volunteer who has graciously been doing this, vetted, go through the whole thing that anybody else would do, fingerprinted, vetted, have a contract or something, because I just feel like there's liability there for the district. And then the last thing that I want to.
Do we need board consensus on that suggestion or no?
Well, I think it's very needed for clarity, because if we're all throwing out wonderful ideas, I need to know exactly the direction that the board is giving. So if there is an idea that is hitting the table and it is the consensus of the board that I am to act on it, I do need to know that.
Okay.
When I think we would have to establish if it's $100 for the background check, if we would be paying for it or if they would.
She's saying we don't pay it.
We don't pay?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I feel like with the amount of time that he's putting in to do that, I feel like we could cover that check. right?
So that would be considered gifting of public funds. These ladies would be putting in a lot of hours. They paid their $100. Unless John can stand corrected.
It's a volunteer who takes pictures right now, so they're not vetted right now. And there's a list that families sign consent, whether their children could be photographed or not. They're not privy to that information. So I'm saying to protect the district, what steps need to be taken to protect the district for somebody that's taking photographs of children, whether they have permission or not. He's not privy to that. He's not a district employee. He's not a contract.
So, so volunteers are not among the list of people to be fingerprinted
Mhm.
by the state education department. In fact, the state education department would not fingerprint
Okay.
volunteers at the request of the district. If you want that individual fingerprinted, they would have to voluntarily get a fingerprint cut and background check themselves and submit that to the district at their own expense.
So I think what may be beneficial, John, is if we can provide you with all the information about the individual who has been taking pictures with, volunteering his time, taking pictures at sporting events for years. So therefore, you can have all the
Is that
information.
individual approved by the board?
No.
No, he's just been doing that.
And
on
he's
his
not
own.
privy to the consent list.
So I think you need all the information, so therefore
Yeah,
you can
that's fine.
better
You
inform.
Okay.
not provide
I
you that
would
information,
also,
provide you with an
yes,
opinion.
I'd like to continue this conversation in executive session.
Sure.
And then I have one last thing. It pertains to the financial advisor about the position. We're paying $1,200 a day. It's averaging $15,000 a month. When the financial advisor was presented to the community, it was obviously for financial reasons to help the district. And we just received the invoices for the first time, and in reviewing the invoices, I mean, he is doing financial things. He's doing a 5-year financial plan. He's reviewing the 4410 and things like that. But I have concerns that we are utilizing him as an employee and not a financial advisor. And just some examples of that is he was reviewing a potential scholarship donation. He's scheduling RFP interviews, reviewing the RFPs. These are the things the business official should be doing. He was reviewing the district-wide safety plan for accuracy. That has nothing to do with finances. He's attending, excuse me, he's attending superintendent cabinet meetings. They're part of executive sessions when there's interviews. They participated in the superintendent conference day activities, attended the Park Avenue open back to school night. So my concern is with this position and the amount of money that we're paying, it's up to $175,000. While some of it is financial, certainly not all of it is financial. And it seems as if we hired a shadow administrator. So I have concerns with that we're not sticking to the scope of work of finances. And I do think that probably sets us up with the IRS if they're being used as an employee.
I think, go ahead, John.
This is also something I would recommend a discussion in executive session.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I had one, we don't have to talk about it for a long time, but there's a regionalization plan that's now due to the state. The deadline has been extended, I guess, so we're gonna go with the extended deadline of
Yeah.
December 5th. So I just want to understand what's the plan to get that done?
So New York State Board of Regents have released a sense of urgency requiring all districts to facilitate a regionalization plan. Amityville School District has been working closely with our district superintendent as well as internally with administration on the document. A large portion of the document is centered around lots of data, and there are parts of it also centered around reflections, questions. Ms. Stevens has been working closely to facilitate the process within our district. And I'd ask that you would give us just a brief update as to where we are.
So we've identified the questions. They're divided into 3 domains. And each member of the cabinet has identified who would be responsible for answering those questions. We have divided them up. We meet weekly to go over the questions to make sure the information, some of it is provided by the Regional Information Center, the RIC. So we're reviewing those to make sure they're accurate. Some of it we retrieve from level 2. So it's looking at the level 2 data, making sure that it accurately represents the work that we do. And then the remaining questions we have divided up, and we're going through them systematically during our weekly meetings. There are vision and reflection questions that are a part of it. So our intent is to create a Google survey that we can share with stakeholders. We have requested a dedicated mailbox for regionalization so that people can email their feedback, and that can be part of our response.
So just to further clarify for those who may not know what regionalization is all about, it's an effort by the State Department to seek leverage for the collective equity across districts. And like Amityville faces insurmountable and intractable challenges with teacher recruitment, advanced course offerings, and funding and aid, they are looking to compile, discuss, and analyze data from educational opportunities in districts across the state to see how we can coexist and collaborate so that there is a greater sense of equity across all school districts.
So, are there
Sorry,
any more?
Yeah, I had one, and it should be quick, but following up this morning's email about Parent Square not communicating with Infinite Campus, and what that means is now absentee notifications are not going home to parents. How are parents getting notified that their kids are not in school?
So when the district purchased the Infinite Campus new student database system and faded out School Messenger, you then had 2 new systems that operated independently of each other. And so there's been processes over the course of time synchronizing the 2. We are almost there. As it pertains to how parents are being notified about the absenteeisms of their children, our attendance teacher in one building, he is actually putting in the information into Parent Square manually to notify parents of absences. There are attendance clerks in the respective buildings, but they're not attendance teachers. And so we've been in communication with the various schools as to how they are communicating with the parents when students are absent. So there are some gaps that we are needing to close, and schools are shoring up those processes as we speak. So we should have a more succinct response for you in the near future.
Okay, glad to hear. I was one of those gaps because my daughter was homesick on Friday, and I deliberately didn't call, waiting for the notification, didn't get it. Because at Dr. Cardone's presentation last month, or at the start of the school year, he said, this is how we're going to track student absenteeism, which sounded great and doesn't seem like it's happening. So I hope those gaps close, and I hope it gets fixed quickly.
We're working very quickly on it. Our technology team has been working around the clock. I think they're in the last stretch of it, Ms. Stevens, as we communicated with them most recently about it. If you have any more you want to add? Okay.
If it's okay with the board, is there any other things that someone wants to say? Because I want to be able to go ahead.
I wanted to know, when is the contract due or over with Full Mind, the tutoring? Is it coming up?
So it's part of a service that we purchased through BOCES. We do expect that we are going to end our contract after the first marking quarter. We are just finalizing alternative plans to make sure that students aren't left without home instructors.
Okay, I'm really hoping that we can do one-on-one with the teachers, bring some of them back. Thank you.
All right. At this point in time, it's okay with the Board of Education. I'd like to move over to, community input regarding non-agenda board items.
Good evening, Francis O'Brien, Vice President, Amityville Teachers Association, 684 Bohemia Parkway, Sayville, New York. We, the ATA, stand before you in the same position we were in a month ago, 6 months ago, and well over a year ago. We continue as if time is standing still. Last month, I pointed out to you that another teacher has left Amityville. This wasn't a new hire, but someone who had spent several years in this district, had built a relationship with several hundred students who passed through her classroom. When asked why she was leaving, her answer was clear and to the point. She simply couldn't afford to stay in Amityville. She went to another district that placed her on a contractually lower step than she was here in Amityville, yet she would be paid $20,000 more annually. You talk about negative impact on the district. What does this mean for Amityville? Another classroom that has gone silent. That, coupled with the 2 full-time positions on your personal action report that seem to be open right now, means you're talking about at least 15 classes on a daily basis that need to be covered. Not taught, but covered by a teacher. Not taught by a certified teacher, but simply another teacher who may or may not be certified in that area will be in this classroom simply to monitor students, not teach them. This impacts students' education. This trend will only continue on your current course of action. The loss of each teacher, there is a gap in students' education. Our loss is another district's gain. We keep hearing words that everything's been considered, yet time has stood still. It's been weeks since any serious negotiations have taken place. Time is being wasted as we are well into our 2nd year without a contract. And it's not just the ATA being affected by this, but the administrators union and custodial unions don't have a contract either. Time is standing still on legitimate grievances that were filed months ago. Time is standing still on resolving issues that affect the culture of this district and in turn affect your ability to retain teachers. Talk is cheap, and yes, actions do speak louder than words, but what speaks volumes more is the silence created by inaction. Thank you.
Matt Grice, 85 Craig Road, Islip Terrace. Good evening. We have spoken numerous issues over the last few years, particularly regarding the climate and culture of our district. The number of ATA members who have left is both disappointing and alarming. Despite addressing the reasons for their departures, low pay, low morale, burnout, little has changed. One major factor contributing to low morale is the consistent need to advocate for teachers to be paid for their work. And I'm actually not referring to a new contract with competitive salaries right now, but about resolving disputes over paying teachers for work already done without prolonged disputes and delays. In the past 4 years, many teachers have had to take on a 6th class to fill vacancies, ensuring our students receive high-quality education. Despite their dedication, we've repeatedly fought to get them approved and paid. Many situations took months. All ended eventually with those teachers being compensated appropriately. Last spring, a teacher taught a 6th class for 6 weeks, but approval and payment never came. Over the summer, we were reassured the issue was being addressed, yet it wasn't resolved. In September, we believed it was settled, but the district reversed its decision without notice, leading us to file a grievance. The situation reflects a pattern of delays and insufficient responses from the district, prolonging the harm to our members. Our goal is to resolve disputes as quickly as possible and at the lowest level of the grievance process. But when past practices are ignored, verbal grievance reneged upon, and timelines dragged out, it becomes nearly impossible. At this rate, it will be several more months before we can take care of the situation with this teacher. And additionally, there's issues with permanent substitutes. Historically, if a permanent substitute has the same assignment for 20 consecutive days, they are moved up to step 1 of the bachelor's or master's lane based on their degree. This year, multiple permanent subs have been teaching the same classes, since the first day of school. The building principals have followed proper protocol, but Central has, however, decided they no longer want to follow this practice. We submitted a grievance, but have been told the district feels we can't advocate for these individuals because our contract's recognition clause says we cover long-term substitutes, not permanent substitutes. I would love to know the difference, considering permanent sounds just about as long-term as it gets. In the meantime, we have people doing the right thing and educating our students without receiving proper compensation. And finally, we are still trying to settle a dispute over mid-year involuntary transfers. We're willing to withdraw 3 grievances that date back as far as 2.5 years if the district is willing to give a 5-day courtesy heads up for emergency transfers. This gives our members the opportunity to say goodbye to their students, pack up their rooms, introduce themselves to their new building administrators, and have an opportunity to plan for their teaching assignment so they can hit the ground running on day 1. Also, while making necessary adjustments in their personal lives to new working hours. We are expected to give the district 30 days notice to allow the district time to fill a vacancy when a member leaves. Why can't our members be granted the same courtesy when the district feels an emergency situation has arisen and it needs an involuntary transfer? These ongoing issues, compensation disputes, ignored past practices, lack of communication are key reasons why morale is low and teachers don't feel valued and, as a result, leave the district. To retain and support our dedicated educators, these problems must be addressed.
That was it. Unbelievable, what I just heard. Ah, I'm sorry. So my question has to do with what was the amount or the figure lost in state aid by missing the deadline? What say you?
No loss.
So
There's no-
you apply for state aid, you missed the deadline, but there's nothing lost? That's,
So,
No.
Ms.
Doesn't sound
Dr.
right.
Talbot, or
That's not,
There's no financial loss.
so what's the point of having a deadline, applying for something and no loss? What I, explain the whole process then. You apply for state aid, you missed the deadline, but there's no loss?
There's no loss because the state also gives this district statewide a 30-day extension to get that report in without any penalties.
so the report is, the report was placed in within the 30 days of the extension, correct?
the audit report has a 30-day extension period, and that did not expire. What we are talking about is the enrollment and the financial report that we have to send to the state. The state requires us to send those reports together. Even if you finish the enrollment, you cannot send it unless the financial piece is completed. And what we're doing, we're going back and forth with the auditors. That's why we didn't send it on time. However, we did not miss any state aid. It is a Dunning letter that we received from the state. They did not take any state aid from the district.
And also, this is common, pretty common statewide with this particular report that is due. Districts do not get that report in generally on time because of what Olivia just said. There are communications going back and forth with financials, adjustments, etc., that needs to be completed. If the report is submitted, quote unquote, on time, it's incomplete and you have to go back and revise that report to finalize it. That's why districts wait until the audit is completed before the report is submitted.
So why don't all these school districts who never make the date and do it past the deadline, approach the state and say, change the friggin' date? Let's be real about it. Let's go outside the box and try to amend something that's broken. And
Mrs. Jones.
secondary, to save some time in these meetings, if you made the agenda a little more clear and explain situations, and did a key and designed a little blurb on what these things mean, you'd save a lot of time and a lot of questions. You have a 80 million chaperones. You could just say, these chaperones are ad hoc. These are hired and at the ready, but they'll be used whenever. At what price per unit, per hour, or whatever the case may be. Everything you put on that needs needs approval, a little blurb to support it of what it is, what it's for, and how much it costs would be very beneficial to this community. Thank you. And you'd save a lot of time and questions because it's so vague, nobody knows which end is up. And that seems to be a theme.
Mrs. Shuff, I just want to thank you for asking that question about the state aid deadline, because it's really important for the community to know that when someone on the board makes a statement, that there's a lot more information behind it, that it might not be.
A
as
deadline
dead as
is a
that.
deadline, period, end of
Right.
sentence. A deadline is a deadline. So if, regardless,
Exactly.
and whether
Please don't scream
whether the
out.
board members, even if the board member spoke out of turn, if she did, if she didn't, or whatever the case may be, the information is out there. And all we do is have to go back at you people and figure out what the hell is going on, who's doing what, who's not doing what, who's not correcting something,
Right.
who's letting something go mismarked, and oversight is abysmal. So don't sit there and say wrong information. We get
thank-
wrong
thank-
information
That's why
day
I
in and
thank
day out.
Thank you.
Don't you dare.
Thank you.
We
Thank
get
you.
wrong information all the time.
Please
and it's
stop
always
screaming from the
guilt-
audience.
Guilt by omission.
Right.
Next, please.
Good evening, Nakia Wolf, ATA President, 100 Court North Drive, Melville. So, September 6th, that was the last time that it is that we met for negotiations. We are scheduled for our next meeting somewhere around next week. And so essentially what it is that is the problem for us is that we have been negotiating now for 3 years. I really don't understand why it is that it takes almost a month in between meetings. It really shouldn't be at this point in time. Either we are close enough in order to do something or we're not. Now, as far as the district's financial situation, and I know that that's something that has been brought up in terms of making sure that you make informed decisions. If you have not received information at this point in time by now that can assure you what it is that you can and cannot do, then that is a problem. So I can't imagine that that is the case. I mean, you have your team, you have your attorney, and you have fellow board members. So I think that is definitely important to stress and understand as it relates to yourselves, what information is out there that you need in order to make an informed decision to move forward. Because just like my vice president said, every month, every moment that passes by, we lose more teachers. We talked about advertising, and I think that advertising is great and using multiple resources. But typically, let's talk about what really happens here. We interview people, we get them in, we get ready to board approval. They see what salary it is, and then they say, no, thank you. We are not compensated very well. And if we did post in the paper, we probably would get less people applying because of what the salary states. We are so far behind that it's getting to the point where other school districts are coming towards the end of some of their contracts, and they're going to be negotiating again, which is therefore going to leave us even further behind. We need to start making moves, and we need to do them in a more efficient and timely manner, because it just doesn't make sense of what it is that we're doing. As it relates to volunteerism, people really need to understand that when they see teachers outside of school, whether it be either community events or volunteering, volunteering is the essence of what helps a school district run, or in most businesses. The school district would not be able to run if teachers or any staff member only did what was required by their contracts. So the simple fact that it is that the school district is is running and that teachers are doing more with less and continue to do more with less, we have to start to question again, how valued are we? How valued are we when we constantly volunteer, but yet when it's time for there to be negotiations, we still find ourselves in the same position. So there needs to be some expeditious movement because these are things we volunteer and we give of our own time. I don't think the district has ever considered or thought what would happen if we decided to actually spend that time with our families, or even if need be, get a second job, because what we get, it's not working. One of the other things in terms of practices and procedures, one of our vice presidents just spoke about long-term substitutes. Long-term substitutes are indicated in Article 12 of our contract. That is past practice. We have a long-standing practice, which obviously doesn't get followed. I've spoken about many a times of how it is that when we have new people coming in, that it's important that those who are here and those who have been here, they're supposed to be able to articulate that practice. Unfortunately, that is not happening. I can't imagine why it is that somebody would want to waste time not taking care of somebody who is substituting for the school district, who is sitting here. Yep. Thank you. I think a lot of people.
I'm keeping track of the buzzer.
Yeah. That, what do you call it? That there are people who are subbing in a district and they have served the amount of days that they normally would have had their salaries adjusted. And to not do that actually shows that they're not valued either. So what would make somebody want to stay if you're not going to even compensate them based off of the practice that has been established in the district? So we need to work on actually following through with our practices. We need to follow through on our communications. I did see something on the board agenda where it is that someone was being approved for something at a different building than they initially signed on. A lot of that has to do with communicating with people and letting them know what the expectations are. So we need to do a better job in all of those different things if we're ever going to move forward as a district.
Winsome Cook again, Grand Central Avenue. I'm here to speak on behalf of the teachers as a community member, but I'm going to put my other hat on. I am a retired union officer. I stand behind the teachers, and I think it's rather disgraceful that the teachers in this district do not have a contract after 3 years. You know, and we continuously lose good teachers. If you do the research, if you do the stats, you will find you don't pay for them, they're going to leave. And it falls on the back of our children not getting what they need. So again, I stand before you and say, if you care about children, you have to care about the teachers too. And for them to not have a contract going on 3 years, I think the longest I know is Lawrence. Lawrence, after 11 years, I think, they just settled their contract after 11 years. Let us not go there. And I know you need information, but they need a contract. They have families as we do too. So I don't know who's negotiating. I don't know who's on the negotiating team, but it's important, and I don't know who you're listening to, but it's important for us to keep the teachers that we have. I'm a graduate of Amityville, and I come back and I think it's disgraceful because we have gone down. Our teachers are one of the lowest paid in 124 districts in Nassau and Suffolk County. Those are facts. Those are not just statements. Those are facts that I know. So we really need to, ladies and gentlemen, come together and meet with the teachers and grant them a contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert Playa, couple of comments. If you're trying to establish relationships with the community, you're not doing it by having these meetings. If you look at the audience that's left compared to the audience that started, they're gone. 2 suggestions. Start your meeting on time. You started a half hour late. Number 2, have only one presentation instead of multiple presentations. And if you are lacking the amount of information that is needed to discuss at the meeting, then maybe it is necessary to have two meetings, okay? A question. Last board meeting, there was a woman who indicated that her child was injured in class through a fight and was not getting any homebound instruction. Has that been rectified?
Yes, that matter has been rectified.
And my last comment, I'm glad you're not overseeing my finances.
Jacqueline Stevenson. I just have a few questions or follow-up questions from previous meetings. But first, I just want to start with LOT. I guess I've been spoiled because 3 of my children have never been on a waiting list. They've always been able to participate in LOT for the past 2 and 3 years. So this year is the first year 2 of them are on a waiting list. So my question is, was there an overwhelming response or is this just the norm? In previous years, students have been placed on waiting lists?
In order to stay within our budget, we were able to offer fewer classes. So I think that did result in some of the waiting lists. So if there was an overwhelming response to a particular program, it meant that we would run it, but then we looked at safety as far as the number of students we could accommodate in each class.
So is it possible that if my children had if I had selected other options, they may have gotten in? Could it be because of the options that I selected?
So I think if there were spots available, the site coordinator would have let you know what was available for
Okay.
other clubs. But
Okay.
if your child had chosen other clubs and increased the number of students interested, a different club might have run.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask about the financial consultant for the aid that was given, the $2 million that was given for Northeast. Out of that, it was stated that 175,000 was set aside for the financial consultant. So considering we may not get that $2 million every year, is there a plan for paying the financial consultant if you keep him for next year? Are you already
Nothing
looking
to
ahead to that?
At this point, there's no allocation for the continuance of a financial consultant. However, the budget process is beginning next month. And with input from the board, we'll see which direction we will head.
Okay, next, regarding the culvert replacement project, it was mentioned that I just wanted to confirm, it's supposed to be starting in spring of 2025, is that correct? Okay. And the 43,000 that's going to be given to the district, that will be for this year, that'll be given this year?
Ms. Bawansi?
We signed all the papers and we are hoping that we'll receive it very soon.
Back in August, it was mentioned in the meeting that there had been expired food being offered at elementary schools. And Ms. Bawasi, you said you were going to look into it and report back to the board?
Yes, I did. We brought in our consultant to go into into 2 of the kitchens, this building and the middle school. And what she found was that there were no expired food.
Okay, what about Northeast and Northwest?
We didn't do that because that was not a place that was brought to our attention. However, this is something that I plan to do. When the consultant, she comes in every month, I'll direct the consultant to look at those areas as well.
Okay. Also, one of the board members today mentioned something about rebates. Can you talk about that? I didn't understand what that was.
We were referencing rebates from the EPC financing.
Correct. It's just like the solar rebate that we get at home. If we do all those solar projects, the federal government gives us a rebate. And that was what we were referring to. About 30% of the cost of the solar installation is given back to us.
Okay.
Just the solar piece though,
I
not the
understand.
entire project.
I understand. Just a couple more. In previous meetings, there's been discussion about getting in or getting out or staying in the energy service contract. What's the status of that?
The EPC contract, the district is in good faith still in contract with Honeywell for the EPC.
And I just wanted to make a comment. There was a community connections meeting that Dr. Talbot hosted. And there was it happened on October 7th. There were two different time slots, one at 11 to 12 and the other at 6 to 7. I went, my husband went, and there were like maybe 5 parents there. I just wanted to say, I thought it was a really good meeting. I appreciate you having it, Dr. Talbot. My husband is looking forward to the next one. And it was good because there were other parents there that we could talk to and relate with. I found out information about middle school issues, high school issues. And like I said, we're looking forward to the next one. I just wish that there's somehow a way that this could be advertised more, or, I don't know if there's something the board could do, but I just wanted to say thank you and I appreciate it. I'm done. Thank you.
How you doing? James Chamberoni. Dr. Talbot, you had said that you were looking at the board and asking them what to do, like before you had said to them, tell me what you want from the board, what it is that they wanted you to do.
It's in regard to a consensus. So when,
Yes.
yeah, so when, like, say, for example, if I said, I want to paint this whole room gray. So if I'm saying it, she has to know that everyone else on the board is in agreement, to it. So she's just saying, she just needs a consensus so she can have a direction on what to follow up on.
Okay, well, I think that there's a pretty clear consensus from listening to everybody in this room, and if you don't see what the consensus is, I think that you're either not listening or blind to it. Your teachers want contracts. Your taxpayers want their children to get a good education, and you to do your job. And your job, first of all, letting deadlines go by is an unacceptable thing. Whether the whole state does it, the whole world does it, it's a deadline. We held ourselves to a higher standard that we achieve our deadlines. You have somebody who's running like a fox in a hen house that you're supposed to be overseeing somebody's
Well, we're not
pay.
going to refer to people as foxes and hen houses. That's
Okay.
inappropriate.
Okay, if
First
that's
of all,
inappropriate.
you're
if somebody's
entitled
getting
to
paid-
your opinion.
Right, if somebody's
and I'm
getting paid
listening to
$1,200,
you.
well, here's my opinion. If I was getting paid $1,200 a day, I think I would show up pretty much any day anyone wanted me there, or if they didn't need me there.
And that's what he does. He's
Right,
here doing
shows
his
up
job.
he shows up when
He's
needed or
doing-
not needed.
He's doing a great job in what he's doing right now.
He's doing a
So,
great job. We have 3 months backlog on checks and receipts.
so that's not accurate in a statement.
That's not accurate. That was what was
Ms. Bawatsi is.
Bawatsi said that she can't do it because it'll come out skewed. Of course, it'll come out skewed. 1 month might be higher and the next month might be lower, but it still will balance out to what is being spent every month. And what bills come in, so they might not get paid in July, they might get paid in August, and August numbers are going to be a little bit lower because of that. But that's no reason not to have the numbers of a business every month. I'm a business owner. I own multiple businesses. Everybody here is homeowners. You balance your checkbook. You don't not know what's coming into your household. How dare her not know what's coming in her household and not allow the board to do their job effectively and leave these gentlemen and every other teacher without a contract because we don't have accurate information to base it upon. And now, not only is she not doing her job, but you just put somebody else in that spot also.
And so I
So
I
he's not
disagree.
doing, he's not
disagree.
backing. You can shake your head all you want, sir. at $1,200 a day,
So
I would shake your head for
I
you.
respectfully disagree in terms of them doing their job. So
How can you say that?
that's your
How can-
opinion.
How,
That's your
do you
opinion.
okay, do you have July, August, and September's checks?
It's not the checks that we're
You're
referring to.
responsible for my money, ma'am.
We're
You're the
talking
president
about
of
the
the board.
expenditure reports. So
You-
the information we're gonna
Ma'am,
get,
You're the
okay?
president of
So-
the board.
So keep going. What else do you have to say? Because we allowed other
So
people to
as
go
the
further.
taxpayers, and you can't give us accurate information upon the finances going in and out of the school board, you're not doing your job, which I'm not saying that you can, because you can't, because they're not doing their job. And ultimately, it falls on you. You're the one that's the top of the food chain, right?
Okay, you can communicate, but don't
I-
point your finger at
I'm-
me. That's
okay.
inappropriate.
I'm Italian, I point, I'm sorry.
Well, not at me, please.
Okay, but you're the top of the food chain. They're not doing their job. You're supposed to be telling them, we need this. How can your board members come forward and say, we don't have July, August, and September? We have no idea where the money goes. Your school teachers can't get paid. It's not fair to them. They're not being unreasonable not to want a contract or not to want stability in their lives. They're grown men and women. How would you like it? You're sitting behind a nice big six-figure salary. They're not. It's really.
Our
disgraceful.
teachers deserve a contract.
Your teachers
And
deserve-
our Board of Education is
Your-
working toward that end.
Ma'am, I would have never given you in business world a 3-year contract. It should have been a 1-year contract based upon your performance. And your performance at this point, not good.
It's your opinion.
All right, thank you.
Really?
It's your
Thank you.
opinion.
Really?
Right.
They don't have financials.
So
because
next,
They're not doing it.
so next, please.
My daughter, hello, Jamel Ellis, 5 Rosewood Avenue, Amityville, New York. My daughter goes to the high school. There've been a lot of extra fights in the high school this year. That's a fact. Fact of the matter is we have less staff, less teachers. That's what it's gonna equivalent to. So eventually, these kids are gonna get worse and worse and worse. The teachers that end up quitting are the teachers that these kids actually talk to when they're having a problem. My daughter used to talk to him all the time when she had a problem. He was one of her favorite teachers. He's on the verge of leaving. I hear it in his voice. He doesn't want to be here anymore. This is not right. Like these are our children. In the last couple of meetings from last year, everything was referred to as a business. Our kids are not a business. These teachers are not a business. They're teachers. They need to, they're not asking for a 6-figure salary, 7-figure salary. They're just asking, I'm a mechanic and I get paid more than them. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's all I gotta say. They
Thank
should
you.
they should get paid way more than I do. That's ridiculous. I turn wrenches all day. They watch my kids all day. They get peanuts.
Thank you. Any other community input on non-agenda items? All right. So,
I just wanted to bring to your attention that the insurance that I sent to you does have Amityville's name listed on the insurance policy. So I just emailed it to you.
Does it
So-
say additional insured on it?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should be, because the name is listed on the policy.
No, it says the certificate holder. It didn't have as additional insured in the description box.
So the.
Yeah, in the
So look at
description
the
box.
rest of
You
the-
could just ask them for it. They'll put it in. You should
There's a whole
probably
bunch
have
of
that.
Pages to it, so it
so
should have.
I would just say
Yeah.
legal's just gonna take a look at it, make sure we have everything,
Okay.
and then we'll be able to go from there.
Okay.
So,
All right, and then I'll call the insurance company in the morning. All right.
okay, so Board of Education, I just want to,
Hate to say it, but I have a committee report. Health and Safety Committee report.
okay, just, so once,
Just one comment.
no, go ahead.
Patty Deek, 86 Union. Last month I came and we spoke about the length of your meetings. And I referred to the August meeting when you yourselves talked about the length of that meeting. I'm very, very concerned as a community member that the very people you wish to be transparent with and for are the very people that are not here anymore. Look at the room. Your administrators are gone. They have buildings to run early in the morning. Your teachers are gone. Why they were here is less important than the fact that they're gone. Your community members are gone. You have a student who has to be in a classroom at 7:15 waiting for the meeting to end as patiently as I have ever seen a child sit through anything. Congratulations, Mom. You're not being transparent, and I don't mean to chastise you. I say this with all the respect. I know what you're doing is hard. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate the things that are brought to light. It has to be done earlier, or it has to start on time, or it has to be broken into 2 meetings for the sake of your community that you wish to include. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Deek. I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to point out that even starting on time, our meetings are running this late, so it will be addressed.
All right, so quick question. Is a board willing to go back into no? Okay, all right, no problem. All right, can I have a motion
So
to?
when- Do I
Oh,
do the committee report?
I'm sorry, go ahead. She has a committee report. I'm
Should I
sorry.
do the committee report?
If you want to.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
there's actually something to vote on, or to like, that came out of it.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I do have a committee report. We actually, the Health and Safety Committee met. It was well attended. I would hope that we can follow up with, another, request for participation and to do it this time by email, because the phone calls and the messages were not reliable. People volunteered and they didn't hear back. So that we do need to do that again. We went through fire inspection readiness, which was great. An action item is that we're gonna look at having an evacuation drill at all buildings this year. They're creating a formal indoor air quality, issue form for the buildings and for the teachers. The middle school generator project is nearly complete. There's new regulations coming down the pike for the lead in our drinking water. So the consultants were there talking about the plans for the sampling and the new signage that it's gonna be added to all fixtures at the building, so it's clear what fixtures are, ready for to be used as drinking water or not. We did have the active shooter training at the Park Avenue building, and the high school was tonight. The next building that needs to be accounted for is the middle school. There was a discussion about, in the district-wide safety plan, that the teachers during an active shooter drill or non-drill are no longer allowed to put a covering over the viewport of their door and barricade the door. So, they said, we used to have this and we're no longer allowed to do that. So I said, well, is this something that the Board of Education needs to comment on, that the district-wide safety plan be updated to include? And the safety consultant from Alteris, right, confirmed that yes, the Board of Education would need to, approve that an update could be made to the plan to incorporate this. Am I conveying this
But who
correctly,
made that
Dr.
plan?
Talbot?
Who made that decision?
The decision to not include
Yeah.
it? I don't know the answer to that, but it's not in there right now.
It's a
And
recommendation, Dr. Talbot is saying. It's a recommendation.
it's a recommendation to keep it in or to put it back in. The committee.
How do we get it updated with the state then? Because like we want our kids, right, and the teachers to be safe.
The safety consultant recommended that it's a discussion to be held with the board. And if the board would like to have it added into the safety plan, we can incorporate it and bring it back for approval.
Okay. Do we need consensus on that right now?
Yeah.
I
So-
mean, I think
so-
that if that's recommended to keep kids and teachers safe, I would say I'm for it.
So so the viewpoint, they're saying
No,
you could
they
look
can't.
in and see, so you would
So
put like a shade over it.
they used to be able to barricade the doors and cover the windows, but now it's recommended that they don't do that?
It's not allowed, it's not in our district-wide safety plan. And they're not
It's
doing
not
it.
in there to do it, you're saying.
And they're
So-
not doing it.
So you're saying that we
we would need to edit
Edit, so
the
we can
safety
do that.
plan so
Okay.
that can be brought back. Yes.
To
and-
add that in.
So we're
and
gonna add
we
it in
need
so
the
they,
Board of Education to say, do we agree with
so
it?
they can cover the windows and barricade the doors.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is
Yes.
just a drill practice?
Well,
And it-
real
This is
and
something
real
that-
life, like.
In a real life
unfortunately.
situation,
So
you're
like
saying.
install something that could be permanent if you really needed it and also utilize it during a drill.
Yes, you would
Okay.
use it, you would do it during the drill so that you're prepared and you're used to doing it.
Got it, thank you.
So yes,
Yes.
Yes.
everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
So yes, please include it.
The culvert project was commented on by a community member that did come up. In the next Health and Safety Committee meeting, there's gonna be a representative from the DOT, and we're gonna plan for the, the impact of the culvert project and probably rerouting the traffic out of the high school in a different way. So we are still looking for volunteers too. Thank you. I tried to do it quick.
No, that's good. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn at 11:22, please?
Motion.
Second.
Chris Nerin, Winnie Knessel, all those in favor?
Aye. Dr. Talbot, thank you again.